Beneath a gloomy sky, incessant streaks of lightning tore through the space outside a dilapidated, abandoned building. On the ground, a few human-shaped creatures wandered silently, their steps as slow and deliberate as ghosts. In a damp room, a young man of about 18 was tied tightly to a table, drenched in sweat. Beside him, a girl with a cold, sharp gaze began her interrogation. "What's your name?" She swung her whip, cracking it hard against the table. With a sharp crack, she flashed a sly smile. "What's your purpose for sneaking into our base?" The young man gritted his teeth, sweat rolling down his forehead, and answered defiantly. "I've told you how many times already. My name is Song Chao, and I came here as a tourist." Hearing this, the girl snorted coldly, her eyes as sharp as daggers. "Humph, if you're going to lie, at least use your brain." She gestured with her hand towards the back, where another girl was sitting and chewing on a tomato, red juice staining her face. "There are monsters everywhere outside, yet you're swaggering around with 2 precious crates of tomatoes. You must be up to no good. Did you inject these tomatoes with a sedative?" Just then, the girl chewing on the tomato started choking violently. She quickly spat out the piece in her mouth, coughed a couple of times, wiped her lips, and said reproachfully, "Sis, if you were afraid I'd eat them all, you could have just said so. I've already checked them all. Besides a bit of pesticide residue, there's nothing else in these tomatoes." These 2 girls were Shen Jiamei and her older sister, Shen Jiawen, the one conducting the interrogation. Hearing her sister, Shen Jiawen was left speechless, shaking her head in exasperation. At that moment, Song Chao tried to sit up, stammering, "Could you 2 untie me first?" The moment he finished speaking, Shen Jiawen cracked the whip again and smirked triumphantly. "You're too naive, kid. You think you can pull any tricks now that you've fallen into the hands of us, the twin flowers of West City?" She leaned her face close to Song Chao's, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "Don't think I won't hit you just because you're handsome. Now spill it. Where did you get these tomatoes?" she yelled, grabbing him by the collar. Song Chao's face paled as he thought to himself, "Looks like I really have been transported to some kind of post-apocalyptic place." He recalled the grotesque creatures outside and let out a small sigh of relief. That was close. Good thing I'm always cautious. Otherwise, I might not have even met these sisters. I would have been killed by the zombies on the street. As he was lost in thought, the whip cracked again, this time right below his crotch. Song Chao jumped and screamed, "Are you trying to murder me?" Shen Jiawen pressed him, gripping his collar tightly as she threatened, "Talk. Now. If you don't confess, I'll whip your ass raw." Seeing the dire situation, Song Chao frantically yelled, "I get it. Stop pulling." I'll talk. Shen Jiawen let go, and he gasped for air, speaking with difficulty. "I come from another base. I wanted to come here to make a small trade with you. If you help me with something, I can provide you with even more tomatoes." Hearing this, Shen Jiawen was stunned, unable to hide her astonishment. "There's more?" She quickly regained her composure, her voice urgent. "Trade what? What do you want us to do? You're not a slave trader, are you?" Both sisters stared at Song Chao, their gazes as tense as violin strings. Just then, Shen Jiamei jumped up, breaking the suffocating atmosphere. "Do you have anything else? These tomatoes are a bit sour. I want to eat some green vegetables, and chicken eggs, too." Hearing her little sister, Shen Jiawen sighed helplessly. "Silly girl, where are we supposed to find chicken eggs now? The chickens have all mutated. How could the eggs they lay possibly be edible?" These words stunned Song Chao, his eyes widening in complete shock. He thought to himself, green vegetables and eggs, what kind of strange requests are these? I thought they were just temporarily hungry. I never expected food to be so scarce here that even common things like vegetables and eggs have become rare commodities. It seems this world is likely in the final stages of the apocalypse. After a moment, Shen Jiawen untied Song Chao. He rubbed his wrists and asked cautiously, so, what kind of supplies can a crate of tomatoes get me around here?" He thought to himself, "Back home, I still have sick parents to care for, and my little sister needs money for school. Since I came here through that mysterious ring, maybe I can take this opportunity to make some money." Shen Jiawen replied thoughtfully, "If it's here, you could probably trade it for about 6 energy modules or a dozen laser gun sets. If you want to buy slaves, you could also get 4 to 6 rather beautiful women." At the mention of beautiful women, Song Chao's eyes lit up like car headlights. "You can trade for beautiful women?" He fantasized about having a long-legged beauty on each arm, his heart soaring. If tomatoes and eggs can be traded for beautiful women, doesn't that mean? Before he could finish his thought, Shen Jiawen stepped forward and grabbed him by the collar, her eyes ice cold. "Are you very interested in the slave trade? It seems you have some connection to them, don't you?" Song Chao's face went white as he shook his head frantically. No, you've misunderstood. No, I just want to trade for some valuable things, like jewels or diamonds. Gold would be fine too." Hearing this, Shen Jiawen was taken aback, her voice laced with suspicion. "Huh? What would you do with those things? In this day and age, who would want gold and jewels? The two sisters looked at each other, their faces completely blank as they said in unison, "Don't you know? Is the outside world already a wasteland? These things became worthless a long time ago." Shen Jiawen's gaze was serious. Her voice dropped as she asked, "Just who are you, really?" Song Chao stammered, frantically waving his hands, his voice full of conviction. "Our base has a lot of diverse items. Everyone really likes gold, silver, and jewels, even though they aren't worth much. But they're fine for making your girlfriend happy, right?" Seeing Shen Jiawen remain silent, he raised a finger and continued, "If you ladies need food and we need gold and silver, then how about we trade?" After a moment of thought, Shen Jiawen spoke in an even, unhurried tone. "What kind of deal? How many radiation-free tomatoes like these can you provide?" Song Chao answered immediately, his voice confident. "We have plenty of food. I can come here every few days, as long as you prepare everything I need." Hearing that, Shen Jiawen curled her lip and said, "We don't offer any special services, you know." Song Chao thought to himself, "It seems these two young ladies are strong enough to protect themselves." He gave a wry smile and replied, "You've misunderstood. What I meant was, when I come here, I hope you can guarantee my safety. That's not too much to ask, is it?" Shen Jiawen put her hands on her hips, looking thoughtful. After a moment, she nodded. "Deal. I'll be responsible for your safety, but we need to be clear about the price. One tomato can only be exchanged for a maximum of 10 kilograms of gold or equivalent items. You have to understand, those useless things are very heavy. I can't carry that much." Hearing that one tomato was worth 10 kilograms of gold, Song Chao snapped his fingers with a click, utterly thrilled. "No problem, just as you say." Shen Jiawen picked up a tomato, took a bite, and continued. "You need to bring the food first for our cooperation to begin. These tomatoes will be considered a deposit." The fresh taste spread in her mouth, and she cried out in delight, "Ah, it's been years since I've eaten anything this clean." Seeing her satisfied expression, Song Chao quickly stammered, "Since we've settled our business, then I'll be going now." No sooner had he finished speaking than a loud thump echoed, and Shen Jiawen pressed close. She shoved a high-powered loudspeaker right in front of him, her voice stern. "You're free to move around. But you are not to leave the factory, nor are you to go out of my sight. Most of the mutated beasts around here have been dealt with, but not all of them are gone. If you run around recklessly and die, don't blame us for not protecting you." Seeing her resolute attitude, Song Chao broke out in a cold sweat. A moment later, he cautiously raised two fingers and asked, "So, can I find a place to relieve myself?" Shen Jiawen spun around, her voice embarrassed. "Go on, but go a bit farther away." Song Chao stood up, glancing at the two sisters, happily munching on the ripe, red tomatoes. Once he was out of their sight, he let out a sigh of relief, thinking to himself, "Phew, looks like I dodged a bullet." He raised the ring on his hand, his heart full of worry. Thinking it over carefully, everything that happened today must have a cause. The only thing that could have brought him here, through space and time, was this ring. If he had to find a difference, it could only be at this item he bought from a street vendor. He gently twisted the ring, muttering, "Let's try again." From the ring, a slow glow emanated. Song Chao's body felt as if it was being pulled by an invisible force, and a spatial vortex gradually formed. In a flash, the surroundings changed completely. Song Chao stared blankly at the old, three-room house. He mumbled, "I'm back." He remembered the first time he encountered the ring, and a voice echoed, "Young man, I see an astonishing spirit within you. You are destined for greatness. But this one-of-a-kind ring, there is only one in the world, so I shall sell it to you." The image of the old man, his eyes gleaming shrewdly, holding the ring, saying, "After the discount, it's 199. Thinking of the old man's appearance, Song Chao couldn't help but feel suspicious. Just who was he, anyway? After selling the ring, he was chased away by city enforcement. As I was deep in thought, an old woman walking by suddenly. She huffed, then yelled, "Hey, you brat. You Song family kid. Stop right there. I finally caught you, didn't I? Your family still owes us 10,000 yuan. When are you going to pay it back?" Seeing his creditor, Song Chao froze, quickly stammering, The old woman loudly cut him off. "My son is about to take his college entrance exam, and he needs money for tuition." Song Chao clasped his hands together, pleading, "Aunt Zhang, could you please give me a few more days? I'll pay you back immediately as soon as I have it." Song Chao bowed his head, his voice slowly recounting, "My father has pneumonia, and my mother suddenly suffered a brain hemorrhage, leaving her half paralyzed. She can't take care of herself. In the past, to treat my parents' illnesses, I borrowed quite a bit of money." No sooner had he finished speaking than Aunt Zhang cut him off, pulling him out of his thoughts. She shrieked, her voice filled with bitterness. "When you borrow the money, you said you pay it back within 1 year. How many years has it been now? Every time you just say you don't have money. My son is going to college now. What am I supposed to do? Though his heart trembled with anger, Song Chao suppressed it. He gritted his teeth and replied, 10,000 yuan. I guarantee I'll pay it back in 3 days, plus 1,000 in interest. Aunt Zhang roared, her voice growing even colder. You say 3 days from now. But this old woman has been waiting for 5 years. Your whole family is useless. How are you going to pay me back? Those 2 sick people should just die already. It'll save you a bunch of money so you can pay us back sooner. Hearing this, Song Chao's eyes turned bloodshot, overflowing with killing intent. He slammed his fist against the wall and roared, What did you say? Say one more bad thing about my family and see if I don't deal with you right now. I'm telling you, I will definitely pay back this debt tomorrow. Not a single cent will be missing. His face darkened as he growled, Now, get out. Seeing Song Chao explode like this for the first time, Mrs. Zhang's face went pale, a chill running down her spine. She turned and left, not forgetting to shout, You little brat, you dare threaten me. Fine, tomorrow it is. If you can't pay up, don't blame me for finding someone to deal with you. Remembering the days of poverty, Song Chao clenched his fists, vowing to himself that he must use this opportunity to give his family a better life. The next morning, in front of a supermarket, he carried some vegetables and supplies, sighed, and touched the ring, muttering, All right, let's go. Instantly, the spatial gate opened. A moment later, looking at the surrounding scenery, Song Chao thought to himself, As expected, the return point hasn't changed. Just as he turned his head, the barrel of a gun was pressed against his forehead. Shen Jiawen held a gun in one hand, the other on her hip, her voice filled with annoyance. Welcome back. You've been constipated lately? She flashed a dangerous smile and continued. So what was with you suddenly disappearing without a trace yesterday? Song Chao forced a smile and quickly waved his hands. Whoa, calm down. Calm down. I just went to get some food. Shen Jiawen held him in place and repeated, Food? Song Chao turned back to grab a few items, saying, Didn't you two want to eat some fresh vegetables and eggs? So I went to get them. Before he could even show off the items in his hand, they were snatched away. Song Chao stared blankly at his empty hands and let out a cry. Shen Jiamei's eyes lit up as she swallowed and exclaimed, Sister, look, there are real vegetables and eggs. Looking at the supplies Song Chao brought, Shen Jiawen, though excited, tried to maintain her cold demeanor. Ahem. She gulped audibly, then turned to Song Chao. Go cook. He gave her an okay sign and replied, You got it. A while later, the food was served, and he watched the two sisters devour it like hungry tigers. Song Chao shook his head helplessly. Suddenly, Shen Jiawen looked at him and asked, Did you hide this food somewhere nearby? On the other side, Shen Jiamei was so moved she was on the verge of tears. It's been so long since I've eaten fresh, delicious vegetables like this. Shen Jiawen continued, As you know, within a 10-kilometer radius of the base, there's nothing but zombies and mutated beasts. Where on earth did you get all this food? Song Chao cleared his throat and replied, Ahem. Of course I have to bring enough food when I go out. Otherwise, what would I eat? You don't need to worry about the other stuff. At this point, he changed the subject. Anyway, we've eaten. So shouldn't we discuss our collaboration now? Is there a vault nearby? Shen Jiawen bit into a round fruit and answered casually. No, this is the outskirts of Linjiang City. There are only residential areas nearby. Besides, even if there was a vault, we couldn't get in with the equipment we have. Hearing this, Song Chao couldn't contain his anger and shouted, You liar. There's no vault, yet you said you'd trade 10 kilograms of gold for a single tomato? Shen Jiawen replied nonchalantly while chewing, Your memory isn't half bad. She snapped her fingers and gave a mischievous smile. While there's no vault, there's a villa district. Those rich folks' houses must have what you need. Song Chao immediately urged her on, his voice anxious. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Seeing his hurried attitude, Shen Jiawen narrowed her eyes suspiciously. In a rush, Song Chao nodded, I'm in a big hurry. The woman glanced at him, stood up, and stretched until her knuckles cracked. All right then. Let's consider it a post-meal exercise. As she put on her jacket, Shen Jiawen glanced at her younger sister, Jiamei. You stay here and guard the house. Anyone who breaks in, kill them, no questions asked. Hearing the plan, Song Chao quickly spoke up with concern. Wait a minute. Your sister is staying here alone. Are you okay with that? Jiawen scoffed. Don't I still have you with me? She reassured him with a confident tone. Don't worry. We've already cleared out the mutated beasts around here several times. When we get there, you can take whatever you like. An unknown amount of time later, Song Chao had a dejected look on his face as he muttered to himself, My name is Song Chao. I'm a modern man who traveled to a future world, and right now, back to a few minutes earlier, Shen Jiawen tossed an object into his hand, her tone decisive. Quick, put on this military watch. Song Chao took the item that looked like a bracelet. Full of doubt, he asked, "What is this?" He turned to her. "How to use this thing?" Shen Jiawen's eyes widened in surprise. "Don't tell me you don't even know how to use this?" Song Chao cleared his throat in embarrassment. "Ahem, I'm not a regular combatant. I haven't even seen many of those monsters you mentioned." She sighed, her voice weary. "It's a multifunctional military watch. Not only can it track your position, but it can also check the surrounding radiation levels and help you communicate with teammates." As she explained, she pressed a button on her collar, and a high-tech helmet materialized. Jiawen grabbed Song Chao by the collar. "All right, let's go. You can take your time checking it out on the ride." Looking at the wheelless, floating motorcycle, Song Chao's eyes lit up as he exclaimed, "Whoa, this bike doesn't have wheels." Seeing his expression, Jiawen got on and mocked him. "Are you even from this world? You don't even know what an all-terrain hovercraft is?" That hit a nerve. Song Chao dodged the question with an awkward laugh. "Haha, of course I'm from this world." Jiawen snorted coldly. "You're full of it. Sit tight." An hour after they set off, the vehicle slowly rose into the air and suddenly lost its balance. Song Chao quickly grabbed onto the nearest thing he could reach. Jiawen's face turned red as she yelled, "Hey!" Seeing his frightened expression, she clicked her tongue. "Touch me again and I'll chop your hands off." A moment later, the vehicle shot forward, and Song Chao couldn't help but marvel at the passing scenery. "It's so quiet." He turned and asked, "Why is it so quiet?" Jiawen replied in a flat voice, "I already told you. We've swept this area several times. Besides the corpses, all the mutated animals in the suburbs have been killed, so of course it's quiet." Suddenly, a creature burst out from the tall grass, a giant mutated rat. Upon seeing the two of them, it immediately leaped forward. Seeing the mutated rat charge at them, Song Chao yelled in panic, "Look out!" Shen Jiawen calmly drew a gun from her belt and shouted, "Get down." Song Chao quickly leaned back. Without even looking back, she casually raised her gun and pulled the trigger. With a loud bang, the rat instantly bit the dust. She glanced at Song Chao's shocked face. Jiawen sighed, annoyed. "Stop looking so shocked. It was just a rat." Still stunned, Song Chao stammered, Is that gun for sale? How much food would it cost?" Jiawen answered nonchalantly, "A laser gun isn't worth much. If you want one, you can trade a chicken egg for it at the Linjiang base." Hearing this, Song Chao mentally calculated. 1 egg for 1 gun. In this dangerous apocalyptic world, he had to be as well equipped as possible. The scene changed to a luxurious villa complex. Jiawen stopped the vehicle and said, "We're here." The two of them slowly approached a villa. She drew 2 fully loaded guns, her voice firm. "Stay close to me. Don't act on your own." Song Chao quickly followed, replying, "Got it." Jiawen continued inside, scanning the area. "We haven't been to this area in a while. We might run into a few small problems." Seeing the magnificent interior, Song Chao couldn't help but blurt out, "Holy crap." He glanced around the room, thinking to himself, even this sofa would probably fetch a high price back home. Seeing him still staring blankly, Jiawen urged him on. "Don't dawdle. We need to be back before dark," she added. "Let's head straight for the bedroom. That's where all the valuable stuff is." A moment later, they entered a spacious bedroom. It was clean, aside from a few bloodstains splattered on the floor. Song Chao watched Jiawen as she stood in front of a mirror. He said with disappointment, "Looks like there's nothing here. We should go." Suddenly, Jiawen threw a kick forward. A loud crash startled Song Chao. Behind the mirror, a huge safe was revealed. He asked in surprise, "How did you know there was a secret door here?" Jiawen clicked her tongue. "Tisk, my house used to be way more luxurious than this. The hiding spots weren't anything special either. I was just too lazy to look before." Without hesitation, she drew her gun and fired 2 shots at the door. The safe door swung open easily. Seeing the items inside, Song Chao was as happy as could be. "We're rich," he cheered. A sailboat made of pure 24-karat gold. It was exquisitely detailed, sitting neatly on a display shelf. Seeing his naive expression, Jiawen narrowed her eyes suspiciously. "Go on, take a look. See if there's anything you need in there. After you're done, we'll go to the house next door." Holding the golden boat, Song Chao's eyes shone, and he nearly drooled. "Whoa, a pure gold treasure ship. This is it." But then his gaze froze. A small ring was sitting in the drawer. Song Chao picked it up and examined it closely, thinking, to be kept in such a secure place, it must be something good. "I'll take it." Once he was done, he hugged his loot and smiled brightly at Jiawen. "Let's go." But his expression suddenly froze. Noticing Jiawen acting suspiciously, he called out, "What's wrong?" She ducked to the side, her voice tense. "Sheesh, keep it down." Song Chao pressed, "What is it?" Jiawen didn't answer, running to the window instead. After a few taps, a data panel appeared. Her expression turned serious. "It's them." Song Chao asked worriedly, "What's going on? Do you know those people?" He looked down. Several guys with brightly colored hair were firing their guns wildly. Jiawen replied, "There's some thugs from the southern suburbs. They've always wanted to capture my sister and me to sell as slaves, to sell us to the West City. They've tried several times. Right now, they're being swarmed by a pack of mutated yellow hornets." Seeing the thugs' miserable state, Jiawen said with satisfaction, "Serves them right." Song Chao tapped his military-style watch. A data panel appeared. Mutated yellow hornet. Jiawen hid by the door, calculating in her head. Those bastards are being attacked by the hornets. If we attack them now, we might be able to solve this problem once and for all. But she gritted her teeth. While neither side has noticed us, we'll escape through the window. A moment later, Jiawen leaped out of the window. Looking at the height, Song Chao couldn't help but feel a nervous tremor run through him. After a moment's hesitation, Song Chao gritted his teeth, summoned all his courage, and jumped down. Seeing how much he was struggling, Shen Jiawen narrowed her eyes in suspicion. "Are you that out of shape? Have you not been injected with the gene enhancement fluid?" Song Chao panted as he ran after her, asking, "Can you buy that gene enhancement fluid?" Jiawen replied in a nonchalant tone, "About 30 chicken eggs can get you 1 vial." She warned sternly, "Stop talking nonsense and run." Just then, a bullet whizzed past his face. Jiawen yelped in surprise and dodged back to avoid the shot. The man with the mohawk roared, "Freeze! Get over here and give me a hand, now." Jiawen immediately drew her gun and fired back, yelling angrily, "Like hell, I'll help you." She threw a gun towards Song Chao. "Here, provide covering fire." Staring at the gun in front of him, he panicked, thinking, "Covering fire? How do I do that?" Seeing him hesitate for so long, Jiawen urged, "Hurry up and grab the gun. Provide covering fire." Song Chao's heart pounded with anxiety as he picked up the weapon. After a while, when she noticed he hadn't fired a single shot, Jiawen glanced back. He stammered, well, I don't know how to use a gun." Hearing this, she clicked her tongue and sighed, "Teask, I'm just unlucky to have run into you." She turned and fiddled with her military-style watch. 2 grenades materialized in her hand. Song Chao was astonished. "What are those?" Jiawen replied, "A stun grenade and an insect-repellent smoke grenade. Remember to pay me back with food supplies." With that, she threw both grenades forward. A loud explosion echoed as smoke and dust filled the air. The Mohawk guy shouted in alarm. "What the hell?" Jiawen yelled, "Run." Song Chao scrambled to follow her. Hit by the stun grenade, the Mohawk guy blindly fired his gun, screaming, "Don't even think about running, you bastards." By a stroke of bad luck, 1 bullet flew straight toward Jiawen. A layer of tech armor materialized to block the bullet, but the bullet still pierced through, lodging in her arm. Song Chao cried out in alarm, "Shen Jiawen." The wound didn't slow her down. The 2 of them continued to run at full speed. Suddenly, a few mutated bees appeared overhead, and Jiawen immediately drew her gun and shot them down. Then she jumped onto a motorbike, which immediately flew into the air as soon as it started. She reached out her hand to Song Chao and yelled, "Grab my hand." Seeing the 2 of them about to escape, the Mohawk guy, hiding behind a wall while fighting off the bees, roared after them, "If you've got guts, then don't run." A short while later, the 2 returned to their base. When Shin Jiamei saw her sister was injured, she snorted coldly in anger. Watching Song Chao clumsily bandage Jiawen's arm, he scratched his head in embarrassment. "Sorry, I've rarely encountered situations like this before. Next time, I won't hold you back." Jiawen replied calmly, "It's fine. You should practice shooting first anyway. I wasn't counting on your combat skills to begin with." After bandaging the wound, Jiamei took out a syringe and injected it directly into her sister's arm. The wound healed instantly. Song Chao's eyes widened in amazement. A gunshot wound heals right after an injection? Is the medicine here that effective? He thought to himself. Maybe it can even cure my parents' illnesses. I have to hurry and gather food supplies to trade for that medicine. After making up his mind, he quickly turned and said, "I have to go back for something. We'll meet again later," Jiawen warned. Those thugs from the southern suburbs could show up at any time. "Are you sure you want to go right now?" Song Chao replied firmly, "I have no choice. I really have to go back for something urgent." Seeing how determined he was, Shen Jiawen waved her hand in annoyance. Fine. Go, go, go." Song Chao walked to the door. He turned back and said, "Next time I come, I'll definitely bring more delicious food for you too." As an apology, carrying his bag of items, he found a hidden corner and looked around. After making sure no one was there, he gently twisted his ring. Just as he disappeared, a familiar figure appeared. Shen Jiamei glanced around. Surprised that he was gone, she returned to Jiawen's side. She held the reactive armor in her hands. Frustrated, she said, Damn those thugs from the south. They shot this armor to pieces. It's completely useless now." She touched her small earpiece and spoke. On the other end, Jiamei's voice came through. "Sis, that guy disappeared. Jiawen put the armor down and turned around. I know. Jiao Mei, you can head back now. She sighed and mumbled, phew, there's definitely something seriously wrong with that guy. What should I do now? Meanwhile, Song Chao had returned to the real world. Holding the golden boat, he rejoiced inwardly. Great, with this, I can change my whole family's life. That afternoon, at 3:45 p.m., in a jewelry store, the female employee looked annoyed at the customer in front of her. She spoke up, young man, you've been looking for over an hour. Is there something I can help you with? Song Chao was startled and stammered. Well, I have a golden art piece I want to sell. Do you buy gold here? The employee thought to herself. He's been fiddling around for an hour and now he's asking if we buy gold. What else would we buy? Iron. Despite her annoyance, she smiled warmly. We do purchase gold, but you must have a receipt. We don't buy gold from unknown sources. Hearing that, Song Chao awkwardly said his goodbyes. Oh, okay. I'll go check another shop then. He worried to himself. This isn't good. I have to make sure I can sell this gold. A short while later, at 4 p.m., at another shop, the owner listened to him speak. He immediately dialed 911 to call the police, scolding. You definitely stole this. Song Chao quickly grabbed his things and ran, telling himself, I just have to keep looking. I'll definitely find one. An hour later, at another shop, the moment they heard the gold had no receipt, the owner kicked him out and refused to buy it. Get out. Song Chao told himself he'd definitely find a buyer. At 6 p.m., at yet another shop, the sly old owner tried to lowball him. 11 grams, you selling. Song Chao was furious. Not a penny less than 300, you crook. Soon, night fell. At 8:22 p.m., Song Chao thought despairingly, his face grim. It's completely hopeless. I can't sell it. Who knew that having gold in hand could be so useless? Just as he was despairing, a voice called out, young man, are you looking to sell something gold? Song Chao looked up in surprise and replied, yes. Before him stood a worldly-looking old man with a calm voice. The old man smiled. Why don't you bring it to my shop? We can discuss it there. In a small alley, a row of classic-style buildings appeared. One shop had a sign that read Joe's Antiques. The old man walked in and gestured for him to enter. He sat down with a warm smile. Welcome to Joe's Antiques. We don't ask where things come from, and we turn no one away. I am the owner, Zhou Fuyuan. He said gently, young man, you have something to sell. Let me have a look. Song Chao hesitated before replying, okay. A moment later, the golden boat was placed on the table, illuminating the corner of the room. Song Chao pointed to the sailboat and said, it's a solid gold ship, completely intact and a work of art. How about selling it at the standard price for gold? Old Zhou stroked his beard, then took out a magnifying glass and meticulously examined every detail. After a moment, he nodded. Solid gold. Pure, with extremely exquisite materials and craftsmanship. It's truly a fine piece. How about this? Zhou's has always done fair business and never cheated anyone. I'll purchase it at the price of a standard gold work of art. The boat was placed on a scale. The display read 1,796.35 grams. Old Zhou turned to Song Chao and extended his hand. Consider this a gesture of friendship from me, Zhou Fuyuan. If you come across any more fine items, don't forget this shop. At the same time, Song Chao's phone pinged. He rejoiced internally, the money's here. He opened the message. A notification popped up. Bank card ending in 5438 has just received 740,000 RMB. Looking at the number, Song Chao trembled with joy. Finally, I have money. The next morning, at Auntie Zhang's front door, there was a loud knock, knock, knock. She looked out and asked, who is it? Song Chao's voice rang out impatiently. Open up. He held up his phone coldly. I'm here to pay you back. Scan the code and transfer the money. Auntie Zhang snorted coldly. Come in. Transfer it to my son. I don't know how to use this stuff. She yelled, Zhang Jun, come get the money. From inside the house, a chubby, timid-looking guy scurried out. Coming. Coming. He looked at Song Chao with a contemptuous tone. After owing my family for so many years, you're finally paying up? Song Chao didn't answer, simply saying in a cold voice, transfer it. The fat guy held out a QR code. Here. After receiving the money, he started mumbling slowly. What a country bumpkin. So uneducated you don't even know how to pay people back. No wonder your whole family is a bunch of losers. Hearing the insult, Song Chao's face turned bitter, and his voice became ice cold. I owed your family 10,000 RMB. I transferred you 12,000. Consider the rest interest. People should be grateful. Otherwise, even if you read books your whole life but lack basic decency, you're no different from an animal. He glared at Zhang Jun and gritted his teeth. But if you say one more word about my family, believe me when I say I'll make your life a living hell. Seeing his attitude, the mother and son were startled. Zhang Jun said resentfully, Song Chao, are you threatening me? He spun around, his eyes wide. Is it a threat? You want to find out? Zhang Jun felt a chill and didn't dare to respond. Time flew by. Night had fallen in the old, shabby room. Song Chao lay on his bed, thinking to himself, the debt is all paid off. Later, I'll get a new bed for my parents, clean up the rooms, and hire a caretaker. Or maybe I'll just buy a new house. He lifted the ring to look at it, murmuring, I wonder how those two sisters are doing. Maybe I should go check on them. The next morning, Song Chao returned to the Shen sisters' base, carrying a bag full of supplies. He confidently opened the door, walked in, and called out, I'm back. Before he could finish his sentence, a familiar scene played out. The muzzle of a gun was pressed right against his forehead. It was Shen, Jiamei, and Jiawen. Seeing him, they were surprised. It's you. Song Chao helplessly raised his hands. Ah, Captain, don't shoot. It's me. Jiawen narrowed her eyes suspiciously. Why are you here? Seeing her attitude, Song Chao asked worriedly, What's wrong? Did those people find you? Jiawen snorted coldly, her voice annoyed. It's none of your business. You ran off before. What are you doing back here now? Realizing he was being misunderstood, Song Chao explained hastily. I really do have a little sister. I was supposed to meet her at dusk. What if she went out looking for me because I didn't come back? Jiawen was skeptical. Your sister? Why didn't you bring her here? Song Chao avoided the question, stammering. Well, it's a little inconvenient for her. Jiawen slowly stood up. Your sister. She's mutated, hasn't she? Before he could think of an excuse, he quickly seized on her words. Yes. She doesn't trust anyone but me, and she's very aggressive. He looked at the two sulking sisters and quickly changed the subject, reaching for his backpack. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. I brought some cured meat and sausages for you too. Here, try some. A little later, after the two girls had eaten their fill, Jiamei rubbed her stomach and sighed contentedly. I'm so full, so full. It's been so long since I've eaten a full meal like this. She turned to her sister, her voice full of excitement. Sis, why don't you just marry brother Song Chao? We won't have to worry about our next meal anymore. Listen to you, Jiawen said, lightly tapping Jiamei on the head in mock scolding. Don't you go selling me off so casually. Watching the sisters bond, Song Chao couldn't help but feel a sense of warmth. Suddenly, Jiawen looked at him. Oh, that's right. Our energy modules are running low. We need to go to the Linjiang base tomorrow to buy supplies, and we can get new combat suits while we're at it. Do you want to come with us? Song Chao was surprised and blurted out. Huh? Then he quickly replied, Oh, yes, of course I do. He mumbled, gene enhancement fluid, combat suits, laser guns. I have quite a few things to buy myself. I'll get 10 sets of each. That might be a hassle. Will it be too heavy? Hearing this, Jia Wen was startled. Wait a minute. The gene enhancement fluid in Linjiang is all the same grade. Injecting it multiple times won't have any effect. It's useless to buy so much. Song Chao replied, I have a few friends who haven't enhanced their bodies yet. You get a discount for buying in bulk. So, what time do we leave tomorrow? Jia Wen hummed and thought, We'll leave at 10. But you'll need to prepare a lot of food, otherwise you won't have enough to trade for things. Song Chao gave a confident thumbs up. Don't worry, I've got plenty of food. The next morning at the base, before Jia Wen's astonished eyes, Song Chao threw down 2 heavy bags. Will this roughly be enough? Looking inside, the two sisters' eyes widened. There were vegetables, fruits, chicken eggs, potatoes, cured meat, and even canned beef. Song Chao pointed to the bags. I'll give you 2 of these bags as a rental fee, but the rest should be enough to trade for what I need, right? The 2 girls nodded vigorously. After getting everything sorted, Song Chao said in an excited and eager voice, Oh man, I can't wait. Looking at the pile of food, Jia Mei looked at her sister again with a suggestive tone. Sis, just marry him. Jia Wen blushed. What nonsense are you talking about? Let's get on the bike and go. The 3 of them climbed onto the combat motorcycle and left. Before long, they arrived at the Linjiang base. Seeing the advanced base before him, Song Chao couldn't help but gasp in amazement. The tall, sturdy walls were lined with countless flashing electronic cannons and laser guns. He leaned forward and asked Jia Mei, who was behind him, Is that wall a military base? Jia Mei smiled brightly. That's right. It's extremely fortified, with 3 layers of perimeter walls, dense minefields, and electric fences. The mutated creatures don't dare come near. This human settlement is the Linjiang military base. Ahead of them, a long line of people was waiting to enter. A soldier shouted, Attention! Line up and swipe your cards to enter. Song Chao turned to Jia Wen, looking puzzled. How much food does it take to get E-credits? She tapped on her military watch and replied, 1 E-credit is worth half an egg. Jia Wen pressed her watch against the scanner. Seeing her, a soldier teased. What's this? The two beauties of West City have started keeping a man now. Jia Wen pointed at him coldly. Shut your mouth and do your job. The soldiers laughed. Welcome to the Linjiang base. The huge gate immediately opened. The three of them stepped inside, and Song Chao was astonished. Wow. So this is the Linjiang base in the apocalypse? He asked worriedly. We had to turn in all our weapons. Will we be safe? Jia Wen replied confidently. Don't worry. The residential and commercial areas are extremely safe. Even though she said that, Song Chao still felt uneasy. He glanced at a corner and saw two men in ragged clothes, thinking to himself, is it really safe? Suddenly, the voice of a fat man in camouflage gear boomed. Come and see. A hot new beauty just transferred from the southern district, only 10 E-credits. He was leading a girl whose hands and feet were bound, her face swollen from being whipped. Song Chao broke out in a cold sweat. He mentally calculated that 10 E-credits was 5 chicken eggs. While he was lost in thought, Jia Wen's voice came from behind him. Getting ideas? Are we? She turned to leave, her cold voice advising him, don't get involved in other people's business. Song Chao frantically shook his head and waved his hands. No, no, no. How could I waste food on something like that? Let's go exchange for E-credits first. Fine. Jia Wen's voice was laced with danger. Fine, then. Even though they're human, they'll do anything for a bite to eat. They could quietly kill you in the middle of the night and take everything you have. Suddenly, she stopped and looked ahead. We're here, the exchange center. A large, somewhat gloomy building came into view. As Jia Wen walked forward, she instructed, you don't need to say anything in a moment. Just act cold and aloof. That way others won't look down on you. Inside, a few guards were on duty. Seeing them, a bald man smirked. Oh, big sis, you got something good to sell? Jia Wen lifted a bag and slammed it on the table. This, looking at the contents of the bag, the bald man was stunned and stammered. This is... Jia Wen smiled smugly. Exchange it all for E-credits. The bald man was flabbergasted. All of it? The other two guards couldn't remain calm. The one wearing a cap exclaimed, there are chicken eggs. And even green vegetables. Is that pork? It must weigh at least 3 kilograms. The surrounding crowd broke into a sweat with astonishment. What, in this day and age, pigs, cows, and chickens have all been mutated by radiation. It's rare enough to find a pig, let alone a whole piece of meat weighing 3 kilograms. It's a miracle. The bald man was sweating nervously. Where on earth did you people come from? Before he could finish, the man next to him put a hand on his shoulder to stop him and whispered, don't ask. They might be big shots from some major base. Careful not to provoke them. The bald man quickly forced a smile. Ah, I'll get that exchange for you folks right away. Please wait a moment. Jia Wen was satisfied. Good, hurry up. She didn't forget to add a warning. And remember, no funny business. I'm watching you. A moment later, all the food had been converted into electronic currency. Jia Mei cheered. 470 points. She jumped up and down excitedly. Let's go shopping. Seeing how happy she was, Song Chao and Jia Wen couldn't help but laugh. Song Chao said, you two helped me a lot this time. Buy whatever you want. It's on me. Jia Wen replied, oh, that's too much. Song Chao gave her a sidelong glance. I'll only believe you feel that way if you don't go on a shopping spree. The three of them were laughing and chatting happily, completely unaware that a figure in a camouflage hoodie was secretly watching them. He revealed a sinister smile, a juicy target. I'll go report to Brother Hugh. At a bar, the man called Brother Hugh, his metal-plated teeth glinting, took a drag from his cigarette as he listened to the report. A real fat sheep. Eh? They exchanged for over 400 electronic points. The man nicknamed Strawberry said smugly, they used pork, green vegetables, and fruit. There was even a 3-kilogram piece of pork. Brother Hugh was astonished. Pork? Are you sure? Strawberry nodded. 100% sure. Brother Hugh grinned wickedly and pulled two rare beauties closer. How many of them are there? Strawberry replied. 3. 1 man, 2 women. They're out shopping in the streets right now. Brother Hugh waved over a man with platinum blonde hair called Old Liu. Have your men set an ambush on the road in the Western District? Old Liu replied. Got it. Brother Hugh thought to himself, anyone who can trade pork is definitely rich. This job is going to be a huge score. Back with Song Chao's group, night had fallen and the moon was high in the sky. Jia Wen asked doubtfully, are you sure you want to go to the trade district? Song Chao nodded. Yeah, it's not just you two. There's something I want to buy, too. Jia Wen replied. All right, we'll split up later then. At the weapons shop, Song Chao's eyes widened at the sight of all the strange items. Jia Mei giggled. Suddenly, an interface popped up on Song Chao's watch and a voice rang out, welcome, valued customer. This is an automated assistant providing shopping guidance. He stared blankly as the interface continued. Welcome to the Linjiang trading market. Before you is an array of high-tech weaponry, combat robots with heavy firepower, autonomous drones equipped with lasers. Song Chao exclaimed, "Whoa, this is amazing. You can get anything you want here." A few minutes earlier, Jia Wen had given him a stern warning. "You stand right here and don't wander off." "Got it." Then she left. Jia Mei also beamed. "Sorry, Song Chao, there's something I absolutely have to buy." Both of them abandoned him. Song Chao grumbled. These two girls ditched their sponsor to go off on their own, leaving me all alone. They need to be scolded for this. But then he reconsidered. Well, at least they showed me a place with lots of cool stuff. His eyes landed on a weapons counter. A three-dimensional image appeared, simulating an automatic rifle. Song Chao was amazed. An automatic rifle? He thought to himself. This is a chaotic world. They're prioritizing buying weapons to survive, so I should get equipped too. I can't just hide behind women forever. He pressed a button to purchase a weapon. A moment later, Song Chao walked out, decked out in high-tech gear. Holding the automatic rifle, he told himself, "For now, I'll just buy a defensive set." Suddenly, a familiar voice called out, "Oh, finished shopping already?" Jia Wen and Jia Mei had returned, both of them sparkling in brand-new equipment. Jia Wen assessed him. "Choosing defensive gear isn't a bad choice. At least you know that staying alive is what's important." She continued, "The money is all gone now." Song Chao's face turned pale. "Huh? Didn't you say it was a huge amount?" Jia Wen nodded. "It was huge, which is why we bought a lot of good stuff." Jia Mei said enthusiastically, "Brother Chao, this stuff is delicious. I will forever etch this great kindness in my heart." Song Chao grumbled. "In your heart or in your stomach?" Jia Mei burst out laughing. "You shouldn't sweat the small stuff." Teased into a corner, Song Chao yelled, "Hey!" At the same time, Brother Hu's gang stood off to the side, watching them. They wore smug grins, like wolves spotting lambs. Soon, outside the Linjiang base, the image of Jia Wen's group on their motorcycle appeared in old Liu's binoculars. He let out a cold snort, surrounded by heavily armed henchmen, all ready for a fight. Old Liu whispered into his radio, "Boss, the prey has arrived." Brother Hu took a long drag from his cigarette and smirked. "Excellent. All right, boys, let's get to work. Remember, don't kill the fat sheep. We need him alive to get our money." As soon as he finished speaking, his underlings raised their guns, aimed squarely at the motorcycle, and awaited the order. A moment later, as the motorcycle drew near, Brother Hu yelled, "Fire!" His men shouted in unison, "Yes, sir," and unleashed a hail of bullets at the bike. Just then, a massive explosion erupted, and the vehicle was consumed by flames and thick smoke. Brother Hu roared in anger, "What are you doing? Didn't I tell you not to kill him? How are we supposed to make money now?" One of the henchmen stammered, but before he could finish, Brother Hu cut him off in frustration. "You idiots! If they're blown to bits, wasn't this whole thing for nothing?" The entire group cautiously approached the scene to investigate. Brother Hu looked at the wreckage suspiciously. "It's just the remains of the bike. Where are they?" While he was lost in thought, an artillery shell whistled through the air from a distance. Before Brother Hu's astonished eyes, an earth-shattering explosion went off, blasting his henchmen to pieces. From a distance, Jia Mei cheered excitedly. "Wow, one shot shook the heavens. They're all blown to smithereens, right?" Brother Hu stared bitterly at the smoke and dust before him, thinking, "Yeah, those bastards." But he still couldn't figure it out. What the hell just happened? Did we get hit by artillery? A moment later, he realized, no, it was a counterattack. There was no one on the bike just now. Those three used an empty vehicle as a decoy, then ambushed us from a distance with an artillery strike. As the thought crossed his mind, a chill ran down Brother Hu's spine. With the second barrage about to hit, he urgently yelled, "Lao-er." Lao-er whipped around. Brother Hu ordered, "You, take a few men and deal with that ambusher." Lao-er replied instantly, calling out to his underlings as he ran, "You guys, with me." As Lao-er's group got closer, Song Chao grunted in surprise and quickly turned to Jia Mei. "Jia Mei, someone's rushing us." Hearing that, Jia Mei grew anxious. "Huh?" She glanced at the cannon, sweating as she thought to herself, "The cannon shell isn't finished charging yet." She tugged at her hair and sighed. "What a headache. I'm no good at close-quarters combat," she told herself. "Whatever. Big Sis always said there's nothing that firepower can't solve." Instantly, from behind Jia Mei, a series of weapons activated and shot into the air, arranging themselves in a circle. 4 devices opened their muzzles, aiming straight at Lao-er's group. Under Song Chao's astonished gaze, she flashed a cold, triumphant smile. "And if it can't, it just means your firepower isn't strong enough." Lao-er's group was still oblivious to the danger. He urged them on as he ran. This way. Go deal with that ambusher on the hill. Pick up the pace." Suddenly, one of the iron-masked men froze. A short-haired woman broke out in a cold sweat and screamed, "Boss, Iron Head's been vaporized." Ahead, only a burning crater remained where Iron Head had been. Lao was stunned. "What?" The short-haired woman continued. "It was a particle beam. Find it, now." Before she could finish her sentence, a beam of light shot straight toward her, and she disintegrated into embers. Lao gritted his teeth and swore, "Damn it." He looked around, completely bewildered. What in the world is attacking us from above? Jiamei's weapons flashed, preparing for another attack. Lao realized what they were and trembled. Flying cannons. Seeing the light energy turrets aiming at him, he broke out in a cold sweat, thinking, how is this possible? They sell these things to civilians? Jiamei caught the look of sheer panic on Lao face. The corners of her lips curled up into a smug smile. As death loomed, Lao fell into complete despair. All he could do was scream helplessly, "Arg." In that instant, a brilliant blast of light energy erupted from the turrets, tearing through the air. Bathed in the blinding light, Lao screamed in agony, "Ah," and then vanished as if he had never existed. Looking at the enemies that had been completely wiped out, Jiamei beamed, her voice filled with excitement. Of course, Big Sis was right. Meanwhile, at the Linjiang base, Hong Mei calmly lit her pipe, leisurely puffing out smoke. She was silently waiting for news. Suddenly, a voice called out from behind her, "Shizi, what are you doing here?" Hearing her name, Shizi flinched slightly and let out a soft grunt. The other person continued, "You sold intel on Song Hua and that rich guy to Brother Hugh. Why didn't you tag along to see if you could scavenge some good loot?" Shizi burst out laughing. "Brother Hugh? Ha, tell me, what do you know about his background?" The other person replied, "I heard he's from the Southern District, specializes in the slave trade." Shizi sneered, her voice filled with contempt. "That's right. Those thugs from the southern outskirts. They all love to get into the kidnapping and slave trading business. No startup capital required. Simple-minded fools. They never bother to look up intel on their opponents, thinking violence can solve everything." He suddenly broke into a sinister smile, a cunning glint in his eyes, "which makes them easy to kill. And it would be a shame to let all their leftover supplies go to waste. So we might as well go collect it all for ourselves. Good for morale." The other person's eyes lit up in understanding, and he nodded. "So that's your game." But before Shizi could reply, the man continued, his voice full of hidden meaning. "He certainly has a lot of goons, but that Song Hua of West City, she's no ordinary medicinal peony. She's an overlord flower." At that same moment, outside West City, Jia Wen suddenly dove down from the sky like a swift bird, aiming the gun in her hand straight at Brother Hu. A triumphant smile spread across her face. After waiting in ambush for so long, it's time to play. Jia Wen's sharp, alluring gaze swept over them as she counted her targets. 1, 2. She weaved through the air as she fired, dodging the incoming bullets with the grace of a dancer. 3, 4, 5, 6. With every number she called, one of Brother Hu's men fell, their blood staining the ground. After taking down the sixth man, Jia Wen landed as lightly as a falling leaf. Seeing this, Brother Hu roared with fury. "She's on the ground. Kill her." Just then, Jia Wen coolly announced, "Double jump. Activate." Instantly, a brilliant point of energy materialized beneath her feet. With a light push, she shot back into the sky, leaving the men below to stare wide-eyed and scream in astonishment. Pausing in mid-air, Jia Wen didn't hesitate for a second before charging straight toward one of the iron-masked men. He stammered in panic, "What is this?" But before he could react, she was already on him, her eyes as sharp as daggers. A gleaming blade shot out from her sleeve. In the blink of an eye, its tip was aimed straight for the eye slit of the man's mask. Fresh blood spurted out, accompanied by a piercing scream. The remaining enemies descended into chaos. Their faces turned pale, sweat pouring from their brows. Jia Wen curled her lip, her voice dripping with arrogance. "Not a bad warm-up. I haven't even had the chance to thank you all." She stepped on the corpse of the iron-masked man and beamed. "For so graciously delivering your lives to my doorstep. Thank you all for your hard work helping me test out this new combat gear. Let's rewind 30 minutes. Song Chao asked worriedly, "Is someone ambushing us up ahead?" Jia Wen casually raised her watch. She glanced at the message and replied calmly, "Well, we did buy a lot of stuff. It's only natural that we be targeted back at the base." She turned to Jia Mei, her tone decisive. "In a bit, you'll provide covering fire from a distance. I'll charge in and fight like usual." Hearing her assignment, Jia Mei immediately broke into a radiant smile. "Roger that." After that, Jia Wen lazily glanced at Song Chao, her voice indifferent. "As for our young master, you go with Jia Mei. Honestly, your combat skills are completely unreliable." Song Chao was taken aback by this, stammering, "Huh? Why young master? Jia Wen paid him no mind, continuing to lay out the plan, her eyes sharp and cold. We'll use this car as bait to draw the ambushers' fire. We'll hit them so hard they won't know what's coming. Song Chao hesitated, asking nervously, do we really have to do that? Wouldn't it be better to just take a detour? All this killing. Before he could finish, Jia Wen exploded in anger, pointing straight at his face. She yelled, what kind of stupid nonsense are you spouting? She moved closer, her voice steely. Listen up. They're probably here to capture you, to steal your assets, to sell your flesh and blood, to enslave your mind, and even to take your life. Her words, sharp as knives, rained down on him, causing Song Chao's face to pale as sweat broke out. He could only wipe his face awkwardly. Jia Wen pressed him with a stern voice. And now you're asking me if we should kill the scum who want to capture you, enslave you, sell you, and kill you. Don't you see that killing them is the only right choice? Back in the present, Jia Wen, with a knife in one hand and a gun in the other, fought her way through the enemy encirclement as bullets rained down. But she remained calm, without a single scratch. The goons yelled in frustration, damn it, the bullets can't penetrate her armor. Jia Wen moved like a phantom, gliding across the ground and dodging every bullet with incredible speed. In the blink of an eye, she took cover behind a large boulder. Her heart pounded like a war drum as she glanced down at her gun. She noticed the energy was nearly depleted and ducked down, murmuring, "Oh, was I getting a little too cocky?" Just then, a guy in full body armor, shouldering a massive Gatling gun, shoved his comrades aside. He roared, "Get out of the way." He aimed the barrel at Jia Wen's hiding spot and screamed, "Go to hell." Feeling the terrifying firepower aimed directly at her, Jia Wen broke out in a cold sweat. Dust and smoke filled the air as rocks flew everywhere. Behind her, the boulder she was using for cover was about to shatter. She clicked her tongue and shouted in alarm, "Activate kinetic shield." Just as the energy shield flashed to life, the boulder was worn away by the bullets, which then slammed thunderously into the shield, creating a deafening clang. On the other side, Brother Hu's men cheered excitedly. "Haha, you're dead for sure this time." After a while, once the boulder had been leveled, the armored guy yelled, "Did we get her?" "The smoke's too thick, I can't see." "Somebody go check." Ah! No sooner had the words left his mouth than an artillery shell rained down from above. The armored guy only had time to scream, "Ah!" before he collapsed, his ticket punched. From the hillside, Jia Mei laughed triumphantly. "Nice. Don't forget about the cannon over here. Thanks to the excellent rescue." Jia Wen couldn't help but praise her. "Great job, Jia Mei." Having lost their main firepower, Brother Hu's men fell into a panic. Jia Wen immediately charged out, her gun firing relentlessly. In just a few shots, the rest of them were sent to their graves. From a corner, Brother Hu raised his gun towards Jia Wen, trembling. He was shaking with rage. "You bastard. You damn bastard." He locked onto his target, pulled the trigger, and screamed, "Die." A loud bang echoed as two special bullets shot straight towards Jia Wen. Danger was imminent. She activated her energy armor and leaped to dodge, but it was too late. One of the bullets hit her. Jia Mei and Song Chao were too shocked to speak. Seeing his target get hit, Brother Hu laughed triumphantly. "Ha!" He watched as Jia Wen's body began to fall. Both Jia Mei and Song Chao screamed in unison, "Jia Wen." But at that very moment, Jia Wen planted a hand on the ground, skillfully regaining her balance. Quick as lightning, she drew her gun, spun around, and fired back. Caught completely off guard, Brother Hu took a bullet to the arm, screaming in pain, "Ah, ah, 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 ah." His panicked men rushed over and pushed him to the ground, yelling, "Brother Hu, get down." Just as he fell, a bullet from Jia Wen whizzed past the top of his head. She smirked, her voice cold and mocking. "So you're Brother Hu? You mobilize all these people to ambush me. You don't think it ends just like that, do you?" She taunted, her gaze razor sharp. "Don't be shy." Brother Hu gripped his gun tightly, spinning around in a rage. Jia Wen continued to provoke him coldly. "What's wrong? Come on out and play. Weren't you trying to rob us? You can't get anything by hiding in a corner." Her sharp, sarcastic words made Brother Hu grind his teeth as he roared an order. "We're leaving." The girl next to him stammered in surprise. "Brother Hu?" he growled, his eyes cold. "Let's go. These guys are no joke. They're all wolves in sheep's clothing." With that, he led his remaining men and turned to flee. After shouting for a while and getting no response from the other side, Jia Wen slowly scanned her surroundings. Only the bodies of Brother Hu's men were left scattered on the ground. On her multifunctional glasses, the enemy's figures had vanished. She let out a sigh of relief and mumbled, "They ran away?" Just then, a voice called out from behind her. "Sis!" Jia Mei and Song Chao rushed over. Seeing her sister was safe, Jia Mei couldn't hide her joy, her eyes sparkling. Jia Wen smiled gently, took off her helmet, and called out to Jia Mei, but her body collapsed right after. Jai Mei frantically rushed to catch her sister. Song Chao's face went pale, and he broke out in a cold sweat when he saw the wound on Jai Wen's waist. A bullet hole was still smoking. She struggled to speak. Damn it. Those bastards had armor-piercing rounds. My armor's been pierced. Lucky for us, the rest of them got scared and ran. Looking at the wound, Song Chao trembled. Jai Wen tried to push herself up, her voice weak but firm. Anyway, let's head back to Linjiang first. Take me to the doctor. Only she can handle this kind of bullet. A woman in a blue lab coat appeared right after she spoke. Time passed quickly. In a room full of medical equipment, a lilting voice rang out. Well, this is a rare sight. You look this pathetic sometimes. That was Su Jing, a senior doctor at the private hospital in the Linjiang base. She held a datapad, a teasing look on her face. I almost laughed my head off. Jai Wen, her face contorted in pain, smirked. Shut up. Who would have thought? Those guys from the south would have level 2 armor-piercing rounds. Xu Jing nodded and replied, I guess some smuggler sold it to them at a high price. Just your bad luck. She continued in a playful tone. I heard you girls met a rich, foolish boy. Jai Wen answered bluntly, that's about right. Seeing her straightforward reply, Xu Jing was surprised. You're not even denying it. My, you're being honest today, aren't you? Jai Wen chuckled softly. You already saw through it, so there's no point in denying it. Where are those two? Xu Jing replied, don't worry, your sister is waiting outside the operating room. She's very worried about you, but it seems that moneybag of yours is more fascinated by the enhancement pod. As she spoke, an image of Jai Mei and Song Chao appeared, standing dumbfounded in front of a glass case, their eyes glued to the equipment inside. Xu Jing continued in her teasing tone. Besides, he looks like someone who's never undergone body enhancement before. He's even staring at the enhancement pod like it's the first time he's seen one. She turned to Jai Wen, her eyes filled with curiosity. So, what's that boy's story anyway? Jai Wen frowned and answered curtly. Him? Who knows? Xu Jing didn't press further, just glanced down at the datapad in her hand. Changing the subject. All right, I won't be nosy, but when you were changing your equipment, didn't you think about adding a rechargeable energy battery or an ion rain shield to your armor? Hearing this, Jai Wen let out a startled ah, and looked up at Xu Jing with the innocent eyes of a child. Xu Jing responded with a look of utter helplessness. A moment of awkward silence passed before both of them simultaneously turned away to avoid the awkward atmosphere. Xu Jing broke the silence. Still no anesthesia, right? Jai Wen nodded, her voice serious. Yeah, that's right. I don't need it. She continued, a glint of excitement in her eyes. Anesthetics take time for your senses to recover. A good show is about to start. If I'm late, forget about watching the drama. I won't even get a front row seat. You? Xu Jing held up her surgical tools and gave a faint smile. Humph, what makes you think you'll be able to run around? Right after I take the bullet out. I'll remove the bullet directly, but afterwards, to replenish your strength and nutrition, you'll have to rest for at least 2 hours. Got it, my dear Shen Jai Wen? Seeing Xu Jing's attitude, Jai Wen broke into a nervous sweat and stammered. No, about that. Before she could finish, Xu Jing pushed her down onto the operating table, cutting her off. Want to go watch the show? In your dreams. At the same time, in a corner of the Linjiang base, Brother Hu dragged his battered body back, clutching his severed arm, his whole body shaking in pain. The pink-haired woman beside him panicked. Brother Hu. She turned and yelled at the moss-headed guy. Don't just stand there. Call for help. Bring the medical supplies over here. The moss-headed guy was startled. Ah, right. He hurriedly ran off, stumbling over himself. The pink-haired woman shouted after him. The medical case is all the way in the warehouse. Where the hell is everyone else? After saying that, she turned back to encourage Brother Hu. Brother Hu, just hang in there a little longer. The medicine will be here soon. But Brother Hu roared, his voice filled with rage. You idiot. Didn't you notice something was wrong? Just then, the moss-headed guy ran back, his face pale and his voice trembling. Brother Hu. Everyone who stayed behind at the base, they're all gone. The base is full of uninvited guests now. Hearing this, both Brother Hu and the pink-haired woman's faces turned ashen. From the shadows, a figure in full armor emerged. Gun raised, they advanced step by step. The moss-headed guy backed away in panic. From behind Brother Hu, 2 more figures silently appeared. The pink-haired woman was forced to the ground, crying out in pain. Ah! She trembled, looking towards Brother Hu and stammering. Brother Hu. Old Hu snarled, his eyes cold as ice. Shut your mouth for now. He turned to the figure in the shadows and roared. What is the meaning of this? Shizi? From the darkness, Serpent leisurely walked out, puffing on his pipe as smoke curled around him. Old Tiger gritted his teeth. What do you think you're doing, pulling this kind of stunt on my turf. Serpent walked closer, sat down in front of old Tiger, and replied calmly, "Hey now, don't be so hasty, brother Tiger." He held up one finger, a sinister smile on his face. "To put it simply, you guys caused trouble for Shen Jiawen, and now you're in deep shit." Hearing this, the moss-headed guy gritted his teeth in anger, stepped forward, and yelled, "What? Are you kidding me? Weren't you the one who gave us the intel back then?" Serpent just replied softly, "Well now." The moss-headed guy yelled even louder, "Do you have any idea how many of my men died this time?" But before he could finish, a gun was pressed against his temple. A loud bang echoed, startling old Tiger and the pink-haired woman. Serpent smiled sarcastically. "My apologies, brother Tiger. The boss is talking, and your underling interrupted. I just helped you teach him a lesson." Old Tiger's voice was low, his eyes blazing. "I'm with the Southern District. You mess with me, and our boss, Lone Wolf." Before he could finish, Serpent cut him off, his voice mocking. "Ah, right. There's also brother Lone Wolf of the Southern District. We're screwed." He sneered contemptuously. "You people went and provoked Shen Jiawen, and someone got furious. The other three big bosses of the Linjiang base have demanded a clear explanation from the Southern District. As for brother Lone Wolf, well, he's been encased in cement and thrown into the river. But a few people still weren't satisfied, so they asked King Yama's men to help you move some things." Hearing this, all the color drained from old Tiger's face, his eyes wide with shock. Serpent continued to whisper, his voice full of schemes. "Brother Tiger, my brothers and I are in a tough spot too. You see, your side is in such chaos. How about we send you to the Western Paradise to lend a hand?" He clenched his fist, a cunning smile spreading across his face. "Now, hand over all your credit points and those land deeds to us." Back at Shujing's hospital, Song Chao was still glued to the enhancement pod. Bubbles rose, making a constant gurgling sound. From behind, a voice spoke up. "It seems you're very interested in the enhancement serum." Startled, Song Chao turned around and greeted Dr. Xu. He asked awkwardly, Is Shen Jiawen okay?" Shujing replied in a soft voice, "Just a minor surgery. GMA is with her now." Song Chao hesitated. "Ah, that's good then." Seeing his awkwardness, Shujing teased with a smile. "Little brother, you're hooked, aren't you? Don't be shy. Want to try the gene enhancement?" Hitting a nerve, Song Chao jolted, his eyes lighting up. "How much?" Shujing pushed up her glasses and answered concisely. 800 credit points. Installments accepted." Hearing the price, Song Chao was stunned and muttered, "That's a bit steep." Shujing's tone immediately changed, becoming like an enthusiastic multi-level marketing speaker. "Little brother, I think you've misunderstood. The enhancement drug is the greatest invention of this era. Thanks to it, humanity can survive among hordes of strange mutated creatures, withstand high radiation environments, and even eat mutated food to stay full. Your 4 core physical skills are understand. The selling point of the enhancement drug isn't just strengthening the body, it's the very foundation of survival. Now, do you still think it's expensive?" Under this barrage of smooth talk, Song Chao finally nodded in agreement and climbed into the enhancement chamber for an exorbitant price. From outside, a robotic voice spoke, dry yet full of excitement. "Congratulations, Dr. Xu, on another successful scam. Profit, 500. Xu Jing smirked smugly. "I don't know who he is, but I could tell at a glance he's never seen a gene drug before. Selling good stuff at a high price to a country bumpkin is standard procedure." She turned to the robot and asked, "Speaking of which, is Shen Jiawen behaving and staying put?" But the robot replied, "I was just about to report." She left a note and ran away. Xu Jing sighed and muttered, "I knew it." On the electronic screen, a message from Jiawen appeared. "Something urgent came up. I had to leave. I'll take the rest of the medicine when I get back." Xu Jing gritted her teeth. "I'm going to have to teach her a lesson." Meanwhile, in a corner of the Linjiang base, Serpent was skipping along, humming, "Oh, what a happy day for a common citizen like me." A soldier called out worriedly, Boss Serpent, are you all right?" Serpent stopped. The soldier approached, his voice trembling. "Is it okay to let Brother Tiger live?" Serpent looked surprised. "Huh?" Then he burst out laughing. "Ah ha ha ha. All the men under him are already dead. He has no one left to protect him." "Yes, and besides, this time we're just acting as subordinates for King Yama. If they don't make a move, we don't need to help either, right?" He raised his pipe and took a long drag, his voice full of hidden meaning. "The schemes of the big bosses have nothing to do with us. We were just hired to be guides." Just then, a cold voice from behind made Serpent jump. "So, did the bosses who hired you mention that you also owe me an explanation?" From the shadows, Shen Jiawen stepped out, her gaze as sharp as a knife. She sneered sarcastically. "Serpent, the intel broker, where's your credibility? Don't you have anything to say?" Serpent yelped in surprise. Who's there? He quickly turned, clasped his hands, and put on a business smile. Sister Shen, what are you doing here? I heard you were injured. Long time no see. Jiawen's lips curled into a sarcastic smile. It's your good fortune you're still alive. Shizi stepped forward, cupped his fist, and forced a smile. You must be joking, sis. Didn't I notify you before the fight started? Jiawen burst out laughing. But you didn't tell me someone had sold those South Vietnamese bastards special armor-piercing rounds. Hearing this, Shizi's face paled. Realizing his intelligence was flawed, he just laughed it off. He said seriously, the formidable Shen Jiawen, what do you want? Just say it. Jiawen grinned mischievously, her eyes sparkling. Relax a little. Shizi, there's not a hint of sincerity in your eyes right now. I just want to settle this debt with you, and then we can talk business. Shizi raised an eyebrow in surprise. You want to do business? You plan on doing business with intel dealers like us? He glanced at his accomplice, who took the hint and nodded. That's right. We don't have any business dealings. Shizi turned back, feigning politeness. Of course, we always welcome Miss Shen to purchase intelligence. The moment he finished speaking, Jiawen flicked her finger right on his nose with a loud thwack. She laughed loudly. Listening to you talk, it's obvious you do business. Shizi, who had just been flicked, had a nose as red as a tomato. He trembled and cried out, my nose, my nose, my nose. Jiawen continued in a sharp tone. Isn't what happened today considered business? Wincing in pain, Shizi looked up and asked, what do you mean? Jiawen held up one finger and replied, fishing. Fishing just like we did today. You leak the intel to attract those with ill intentions. Her eyes turned sinister. It's best to control the numbers, and I'll leave my people to kill them. You guys go and collect the loot. Whatever's left on the battlefield is ours, and we'll sell it to you cheap. As for the loot we collect, we'll split it 60-40. Don't tell me you're not interested. Even King Yama and his crew would definitely want in on this. The accomplice stammered, this. But we're just intel dealers. Jiawen glanced at him, hands on her hips. If you can't make the call, then go find your boss to decide. She pulled out a gold card and dangled it. Oh, right. If there's any more faulty intel like today, your cut will be docked. The accomplice looked at the card and whispered to Shizi. That looks like the unnamed gold card Brother Hugh uses to transfer credit points. Shizi was startled. He looked down at his pocket, let out a small ah, then sighed and looked at Jiawen. Fine, fine. Consider it an apology gift to you. Jiawen burst out laughing and nodded. Very sensible. I'll let you off the hook. As she spoke, she turned and gave a playful wink. Be good now. I look forward to our cooperation. Then, she turned on her heel and walked away proudly. Shizi watched her go, waving a hand. Take care. When Jiawen was out of sight, the accomplice asked, Big brother, Shizi, aren't you going to stop her? Shizi replied calmly, Ah, no need. He glanced up at the roof where his men were waiting with their weapons ready. Shizi began to walk slowly and continued, You're still too young. I told you, she's not someone to be messed with. Haven't you considered why she would dare to come and extort us all by herself? Hearing this analysis, the accomplice finally realized his own naivety, and a cold sweat broke out on his back. Not too far away, Jia Mei, holding a sniper rifle, let out a sneeze and muttered, Did I catch a cold? The scene changes to Song Chao's side. After soaking in the gene enhancement fluid for some time, he felt a warm, moist sensation in his body, as if he were sinking into the deep sea. But at the very bottom, a ray of light flickered. Song Chao slowly opened his eyes, and the unfamiliar ceiling lights shone down on him. He thought to himself, I don't recognize this ceiling. He quickly raised a hand to block the light and shot up, staring at his hand in astonishment. Is the enhancement complete? My body seems tougher than before. Looking at his bare upper body, Song Chao suspiciously pulled back the blanket to check. Just then, Jiawen walked in with a tray and saw him fumbling under the covers. Her eyes widened, and her voice was filled with awkwardness. What are you doing? Song Chao jumped and screamed. Whoa, oh. Jiawen, thinking he was up to something shady, quickly turned her head away and forced a laugh. I'll just wait outside. Remember to clean up before you come out, okay? Song Chao called out in a panic. Wait a minute. But from outside, delighted laughter had already erupted. Xu Jing, with a toothpick in her mouth, was smiling broadly. Well now, that's truly a masterpiece. It's the first time I've ever heard of someone waking up and the first thing they check is that spot. Hearing her words, Song Chao wished a hole would open up and swallow him. He covered his face with both hands, defeated, and begged, Please, don't say anything. Xu Jing lowered her glasses, wiping them as she teased. What is it? What's wrong? It seems the place you're from doesn't have enhancement drugs. How pitiful. All right, let me educate you. She began to ramble on. Enhancement drugs primarily work to unlock your own potential. Enhancing the body is just the first step. It upgrades your vision, smell, taste, cognitive abilities, reaction speed, muscle strength, and so on. It improves your overall constitution, and after that comes high-level enhancement. Your body breaks free from its genetic locks, entering the realm of superhumans, becoming incredibly resilient. Your brain capacity also increases to the point where you can even face mutated creatures head-on. The final stage is special ability enhancement. She paused and waved her hand. Forget it. You don't need to know about special abilities yet. Besides, in a tiny place like this, it's not like you'll ever meet anyone with special abilities. Hearing this, a flicker of doubt crossed Song Chao's mind. Xu Jing's expression turned serious as she spoke slowly. In short, if you are ever unlucky enough to face a person with special abilities, running is your smartest choice. She finished, stating firmly. Bottom line is, that's just how dangerous powered individuals are. The entire room immediately fell silent. A moment later, Jia Wen took a sip of water, smacked her lips, and said, "That sounds terrifying, but I've never met any of those powered individuals here in Linjiang." Xu Jing hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement. That's true. He was processing the massive amount of information he had just received. Song Chao couldn't help but feel confused, scratching his head. He hesitantly raised his hand and asked, "Dr. Xu, I haven't thought that far ahead, but can you tell me the prices of the different types of drugs? I need to buy a batch of enhancement drugs. The higher the quality, the better." Jia Wen chimed in quickly. The price of regular enhancement drugs is only a few dozen. Before she could finish, Xu Jing threw a bottle. Hitting her on the head, she snapped, "Shut up and quietly eat your nutrient solution." Jia Mei, sitting next to them, giggled along. Actually, Dr. Xu's medicines have always been a bit pricey. The moment she finished speaking, a robot suddenly charged forward and rammed straight into Jia Mei's stomach. Caught by the surprise attack, she only had time to cry out, "Ugh," before falling backward. That shut the two chatterboxes up. Xu Jing calmly continued, "Unfortunately, Linjiang is just a small place. The market here doesn't have high-grade drugs or drugs for powered individuals. If you want to buy top-quality enhancement drugs in bulk, you've come to the right person. I'll sell them to you for 20,000 a bottle." Witnessing this scene, Song Chao replied helplessly, "Oh, okay." Seeing his naive expression, Xu Jing began to calculate inwardly. Determined not to reveal her intention to rip him off, she watched as Song Chao asked again, "So, can these drugs be used directly?" Hearing the question, Xu Jing couldn't hide her surprise. "Huh? What are you thinking? Enhancement drugs have to be prepared before use. Otherwise, what would you need a doctor for?" Song Chao went, "Oh," and continued to ask, "So, are there any drugs that can be used directly?" Seeing the guy naively setting himself up to be ripped off, Xu Jing didn't hesitate to give a smug grin. "You really don't give up, do you? How about this? I can custom order a batch of easy-to-use equipment for you, but I can't guarantee how effective it will be with your constitution. At the very least, they won't cause any problems, but they're very expensive, you know." Hearing there was a solution, Song Chao was overjoyed. "No problem, please do it." Xu Jing looked at Song Chao's excited expression, sighed softly, and replied, "All right, fine. As long as you think it's no problem. 500 a shot, no discounts." Song Chao suddenly remembered something and quickly turned back to ask, "By the way, how much do high-grade and esper drugs usually sell for?" Jia Wen covered her face in exasperation and replied, "Why do you think Linjiang doesn't have those two types of drugs? Isn't it because they're terrifyingly expensive?" Seeing Song Chao's clueless look, she continued, "A single shot of a high-grade drug starts at 10,000. No one's ever seen the drugs for powered individuals, but I hear they're at least 100,000 and up. Stop dreaming. We can't afford them." Hearing that number, Song Chao was stunned. 100,000? A moment later, Xu Jing led the group away. She turned back and asked, "What are you guys planning to do next?" Jiao Wen replied, "Well, we were hoping to borrow a place to stay for the night." Xu Jing nodded. "Fine. Just remember to pay." Jiao Wen laughed it off. "Haha, we know each other so well now. How about you waive the rent?" Xu Jing snorted coldly. "In your dreams." But just then, Jia Mei chimed in. "Dr. Xu, are you staying up late again? Be careful, you might have a stroke." Hearing this, Xu Jing replied with a miserable expression. "An unarmed intellectual like me isn't like you muscleheads. You guys can do business without any capital. If I don't work overtime, who's going to pay for my meals?" Jia Wen glanced over at Song Chao, who was still lost in thought. Seeing this, she asked, "What's wrong? Still thinking about the drugs?" Song Chao was startled and stammered, No, I'm not." Seeing his naive look, Jia Wen sighed and turned to Jia Mei, speaking loudly. "Jia Mei, you and Xu Jing go on ahead." Jia Mei nodded. "Oh, okay." Xu Jing also replied, "All right, do as you please." As soon as the group left, Jiao Wen immediately walked closer to Song Chao, her eyes sharp and dangerous. Seeing her like this, Song Chao panicked. "Whoa, what is it?" Jiao Wen replied, "I just want to give you a little suggestion. You want to buy high-grade and esper drugs, right?" Song Chao nodded and replied, yes, but if there's nowhere to even buy them." Before he could finish, Jiao Wen cut him off. "You idiot." She held up a finger and said, "If there's no market, then you just have to create one, right?" She saw Song Chao's eyes widen in surprise. Jiao Wen continued, "All you need is an organization that's big enough, with a large enough territory and enough manpower and weapons. Then, of course, you'll be able to buy what you want." As she spoke, she stepped forward, placed a hand on the wall, and leaned in close to Song Chao. "Besides, don't you think having your own faction would make you safer?" Hearing these words, Song Chao rubbed his chin and nodded thoughtfully. "You got a point there, right?" Jiao Wen smiled smugly as Song Chao continued, "But I don't know of any organizations around here to join." Hearing this, Jiao Wen cleared her throat, her eyes twinkling. "Ahem, Song Chao, look, you have money, and I have combat power. How about we do something big together?" Song Chao asked doubtfully. "You mean, cooperate and build something together, right?" Jiao Wen nodded. "That's right." Song Chao frowned and continued. "You want me to invest money as your backer, and in return, you'll help me expand the supply channels I need." Jiao Wen smiled brightly and replied, "That's exactly it. You don't know anyone here, and you're not familiar with how to deal with hunters like us. If you don't find the right place, you'll have a hard time surviving anywhere." Inside Jiao Wen's mind, the images of 4 powerful figures in Linjiang appeared. She continued, "There are 4 leaders in this city. Each one controls a major faction, but after yesterday's incident, the protector of the southern district is probably dead. You saw what happened to those guys who tried to rob us. That's the price of not having any backing. A dozen of them were wiped out in an instant, and they were tragically taken advantage of by others." She held up one finger, her voice playful. "A young master like you, who has never ventured into this kind of world, if you don't have a reliable faction to protect you, what happened yesterday will keep happening. But we're experts in these matters and can guarantee we'll handle everything for you smoothly." Song Chao thought for a moment, then nodded. You have a point." Seeing she had convinced him, Jiao Wen was overjoyed, but Song Chao cut her off with a question. "But why didn't you form your own organization before you met me?" The question hit a sore spot. Jiao Wen was momentarily embarrassed and hadn't yet answered when Song Chao continued. "So, after you 2 got credit points from selling the food, you ran straight to the food street and went on a spending spree, right? Let me guess, both of your outfits are old. Did all your money go to food, eat your songs?" Chao's words was like an arrow straight through Jiao Wen's heart. He continued, "So, contaminated food is that expensive, yet the first time I saw you, you didn't leave a single bite. You ate every last scrap. Even if we cooperate, with all the food in my hands, I wouldn't dare let you 2 eat freely." Every sentence from Song Chao was like a sharp knife, stabbing at Jiao Wen's weaknesses, her gluttony and her lack of credit points. At this point, all she could do was laugh awkwardly. Ha ha. Thinking her plan had failed, she was surprised when Song Chao sighed and said, "Let's do it. I'll support you in forming a team." His voice was decisive. "In return, I want you to keep your promise, and bring back what I need. If I see that you're not meeting my expectations, I'll pull my funding and find someone else." Hearing this, Jiao Wen was stunned for a moment, then broke into a radiant smile and extended her hand. "It's a deal." Song Chao took her hand and replied, "Pleasure doing business with you." After sealing the deal, Jiao Wen led Song Chao away, speaking as they walked. "Let me first introduce you to the current general situation. You'll have to deal with these factions later on." From Jiao Wen's hand, a holographic map appeared, dividing Linjiang into 5 zones. Among them, the 4 zones East, South, North, and Central each had their own leader and faction. She began to explain clearly. The Eastern District is the transportation hub connecting Linjiang to the outside world, and it has the largest black market, and a group that specializes in selling intelligence. The leader is a merchant named Fatty, who prefers to use money and information to solve problems rather than fighting. The Central District is focused on science, technology, and heavy industry. The leader, nicknamed the General, has a military background and manages things with a militarized style. The Southern District is crowded and rife with robber gangs and slave trading. The scumbags who tried to rob us yesterday came from here. The boss, Lone Wolf, is a warmonger, but he's probably dead after yesterday's incident. When she mentioned the Northern District, Jiao Wen paused, her expression changing slightly. Noticing this, Song Chao asked in surprise, "What's wrong with the Northern District?" Jiao Wen replied with a start, "Oh, the Northern District is mainly a gathering place for hooligans, freelance mercenaries, and some intelligence brokers. The leader is a bastard named King Yama. We have some history with him. Just don't go wandering around there casually. Hearing her say this, Song Chao frowned with a dissatisfied tone. What kind of hell mode is this? Jia Wen gave a forced laugh and changed the subject. Ha ha. Song Chao asked again. But in that case, is the Western District not managed by anyone? Jia Wen puffed out her chest and pointed to herself proudly. Why would it not be managed? That's my territory. Song Chao clapped mockingly. Oh, I see. The others all have large factions, but your place only has the two of you. Jia Wen replied, flustered. There are complex historical reasons for this. She cleared her throat, cough, and continued. Actually, the development potential of the Western District is not small at all. From Jia Wen's palm, a three-dimensional image of the Western District appeared. This place is rich in resources, and there are quite a few ancient ruins. Sometimes, you can dig up some good stuff. Song Chao asked with a skeptical look. So what's the catch? Jia Wen rubbed her chin and replied, too many monsters, making it very difficult to develop. So no one dares to go near it. Song Chao continued. So that's why it's poor, right? As if suddenly realizing something, he was startled. Wait, no. Then why don't the others come and take over the territory? Jia Wen's eyes turned sharp as she held up one finger confidently. Because this is my territory. The next morning, Song Chao and the Shen sisters went to see Xu Jing. She looked furious, her voice tense. So, you're out of money? Song Chao awkwardly avoided her gaze. Ah, that's right. Jia Mei spoke up from behind, trying to cover for him. We work with Mr. Chao, but he's a bit weak. Jia Wen quickly cut in. Ah, right. She turned to Jia Mei, motioning for her to stop as she whispered. Jia Mei, can you please shut up? I'm begging you. Xu Jing, still annoyed, pressed on. Don't tell me I wasted my entire evening making this stupid medicine box, and now you're saying you don't want to buy it, Song Chao said in a panic. Of course not. He pointed towards the Shen sisters, his voice helpless. The credit points we exchanged for food before, a good chunk of it has already been spent. With all eyes on them, the two girls broke into a nervous sweat. Xu Jing coolly pushed up her glasses. Oh, is that so? She turned to a pale-faced Jia Wen. Shen Jia Wen, you make the call. Jia Wen was stunned. Xu Jing held up a hand and continued, if you're willing to act as his guarantor, I can let him owe me. But when you pay me back, it'll be with an extra 20% interest. Jia Wen protested. No way. Your prices are already high enough. Xu Jing retorted. You get what you pay for. If you've got the nerve, then don't use it. I'll just dump out all the medicine and they can have the box back. Seeing how insistent she was, Jia Wen finally gave in with a sigh. Fine, I understand. I'll be the guarantor. With the deal settled, Xu Jing tossed the item to Song Chao. All right, take it. Song Chao caught it and replied, thanks. I'll pay you back as soon as I can. Jia Wen turned to leave. Well, we'll be on our way. Jia Mei waved. Goodbye, Miss Xu. Xu Jing lowered her glasses, revealing dark circles like a panda's, and sighed. Get lost, quickly. Get out of here. I need to sleep. As soon as Song Chao's group left, a robot spoke up. I'm surprised you let them take it on credit. Xu Jing turned and walked inside, replying, We're not complete strangers. Of course, they get special treatment. She chuckled softly. Besides, that Shenjia Wen girl is actually planning to form her own 5-person squad in a stagnant pond like Linjiang. How could I not give such an amusing development a little push from behind? As she said this, a sly smile spread across her face. They're going to regret this later. Snap. The scene changes to a corner of the city. Jia Mei looked at Song Chao, her voice full of doubt. Mr. Chao, Song Chao held up a hand. Yes. I can't just get supplies for free. I have to trade other things for them. Jia Wen asked, stunned. Why does your headquarters need so much gold? Song Chao stroked his chin and calmly replied, It's not just that. Besides gold, valuable works of art or rare antiques can also be used for trade. Hearing this, Jia Mei couldn't help but frown in exasperation. Why is it all such useless stuff? The people at your headquarters are really demanding. It makes no sense. Seeing her confusion, Song Chao smiled and replied, Oh, it's because wealth creates a demand for the finer things in life. Jia Wen scratched her head, hesitating. Gold is one thing, but with just the three of us, even if we find some, we won't be able to carry much. Song Chao raised his eyebrows in surprise. What about buying some from Sidao's crew? Jia Wen shook her head, her tone firm. Don't be ridiculous. Trading food for gold? We'd be a laughingstock. At this, she rubbed her chin, a mischievous glint appearing in her eyes. There is one way. Song Chao's eyes widened with curiosity. Jia Wen thought for a moment, then said decisively, Follow me. After some time, the group arrived in Nanchang. A man with large ears like a Maitreya Buddha, in a flashy demeanor like the god of wealth, greeted them enthusiastically the moment he saw them. Welcome. What a rare pleasure. I never thought the sisters from Sikang would finally see the light and decide to grace my business with their presence. Jia Wen shot him a look of disgust and cut him off coldly. Cut the crap. I'll tell you what I need. The man chuckled and nodded. All right, you have the floor. Song Chao leaned close to Jia Mei's ear and whispered, Where are we? She answered softly, her voice filled with caution. This is the slave market. Inside, a crowd of miserable-looking people, with iron shackles on their wrists and wooden yokes around their necks, sat silently, waiting for their next master, resigned to their fate. Seeing the scene, Song Chao couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat, muttering, So these are slaves. Just then, Jia Mei's voice rang out, attracting the gazes of the slaves. I need 12 people, 8 men and 4 women. I only want skilled individuals, combat personnel, and technicians. Furthermore, you must provide full equipment for all of them. Soon after, Song Chao's group's convoy left Nanchang. Inside the vehicle, the newly purchased slaves were clearly anxious about their uncertain future. Song Chao thought to himself, We just bought a batch of slaves from the slave market, but these people are meant to become reserve members, a new source of manpower for the squad Shen Jia Wen is forming. That was the plan, anyway. He glanced over at the newcomers, realizing they had been completely silent since boarding. Then he turned to the Shen sisters. One was focused on driving, while the other was taking the chance to nap and regain her strength. Faced with the silence, Song Chao spoke up out of sheer boredom. It's too quiet in here. Hearing this, Jia Wen quietly explained. Her voice was calm but held a certain weight. Their futures are uncertain, their very lives hanging in the balance. As slaves, they're obviously not in the mood to chat. Song Chao frowned and turned to her. I thought you two hated slaves? Jia Wen snorted, her face filled with disgust as she answered through gritted teeth. Well, I despise what they both represent. After she spoke, the car fell silent again. Song Chao waited, but Jia Wen didn't say anything more, so he just replied with a simple, Seeing his hopeful look, Jia Mei sighed and continued, All right, we'll go to the residential area first to find the things you need, then you can go back and trade, while the two of us stay here, to free these slaves. Song Chao frowned doubtfully. Buying slaves just to free them? That doesn't sound like something you'd do. When Jia Wen heard that, her voice filled with dissatisfaction. What's that supposed to mean? Just then, Jia Mei announced, we're here. Outside, a factory area came into view, with rows of old apartment buildings next to it. Before long, the convoy stopped in front of a somewhat luxurious building. It seemed to have been a high-end apartment complex for the elite before Song Chao looked outside, unable to hide his surprise. What is this place? Jia Mei answered in a gentle voice. After you left, we searched the nearby villas, gathered all the gold we could find, and stored it here. Jia Wen then turned back and threw Song Chao a weary look. You take a batch of gold and go first. We'll bring the rest back. With that, she got out of the car and went to the back to open the door for the slaves to get out. Seeing this, the whole group was startled, their eyes filled with anxiety as most of them got out. Jia Wen crossed her arms and gave a firm order. Come on out. Get ready to work. She began assigning tasks. Men, over there. Carry all the boxes out and load them onto the truck. Jia Mei, you take the women and clear up the miscellaneous stuff. Don't leave anything behind. Jia Mei replied with a bright smile. Got it. Jia Wen turned to Song Chao, her eyes still full of irritation. Just pick what you want later, and try not to cause any trouble. Song Chao was taken aback and quickly replied, Oh, okay. Jia Wen clapped her hands, her voice booming towards the slaves. All right, let's move. There's a reward for good work. Suddenly, a bald man approached, his voice dripping with sarcasm. So the sisters of West City are finally using slaves. Another person pointed to the collar on his neck and said loudly, What reward? In the end, you just see us as labor, or cannon fodder. As long as we're wearing these explosive collars, whatever you masters say, goes. Jia Wen's face paled with anger when she heard that. You think I'm bluffing? The man spat on the ground. Aren't you? Jia Wen's voice grew stern. What if the reward I'm talking about is your freedom? When the group heard this, they were too stunned to believe their own ears, stammering, Freedom? Are you kidding? The woman raised both hands, her voice filled with conviction. I'm not kidding. I'll not only give you freedom, but I'll also give you a job. At that moment, she seemed to radiate an aura of righteousness. Smirking, she continued, But surely you don't think there's such a thing as a free lunch in this world, do you? Hearing this, someone immediately asked, What do you want us to do? Jia Wen replied decisively, You don't need to know that right now. She gestured towards the crowd and continued, I have only one question. Are you willing to take a chance, to see if what I say is true? A while later, Jia Wen led Song Chao into a room filled with wooden chests. Opening one of them, his eyes lit up as he exclaimed, "Whoa, what is all this?" Jia Wen crossed her arms and answered calmly, "Gold. All the easily found gold in this area is here." Song Chao couldn't take his eyes off the pile of gold. He said joyfully, "Thank you so much." Jia Wen glanced at the pile of gold, silver, and jewels and explained, "Nearly 23 kilograms of gold, plus some gemstones and other carved jade ornaments. Okay, for now, I'll prepare one crate of gold for you first." "How about 6 kilograms?" Song Chao didn't answer, his eyes still glued to the treasure as he marveled. "This is great. I can trade for so many things this time." Remembering something, he let out an ah and turned to Jia Mei, saying, "By the way, is there anything you girls want to eat?" Jia Mei immediately appeared, her eyes sparkling. "Beef, milk, eggs, sweets." Jia Wen added excitedly, "And some mushrooms and vegetables. Of course, it would be even better if there's rice or bread." Seeing their eager expressions, Song Chao thought helplessly, "Are they really this obsessed with food?" He lifted the crate of gold, his voice cheerful. "All right, I've got it noted down. It might take me a while to get back this time." Jia Mei nodded. "Okay, I'll handle things with the team first." Carrying the crate of gold, Song Chao was secretly amazed. Speaking of which, this crate is really light. Future technology is truly something else. With this, I could even make a killing as a food delivery guy. Thinking this, he gave a two-fingered salute and left with a smile. Watching his back disappear, Jia Mei asked, "Aren't you going with him?" Jia Wen shook her head and walked away. "He's a partner now. We have to respect each other's privacy." Jia Mei nodded, then was suddenly shocked. "Wait, are you serious about this?" Jia Wen puffed out her chest, her voice full of confidence. "If you use someone, don't doubt them. If you doubt them, don't use them." A short while later, in the main hall, the slaves saw them appear. The bald man cheered, "Ah, they're here, they're here." The person next to him was still doubtful. "Are they really giving us our freedom?" Another man scoffed, "And you believe everything she says?" Jia Wen, standing on the second floor looking down, called out, "All of you, come up here." She snapped her fingers and announced, "Listen carefully. This is your indenture contract, and it is also the program to disarm the explosive collars on your necks. Now, I will fulfill my earlier promise." As she spoke, her eyes took on a cunning glint, and she smirked. "But before that, I have a proposal I'd like to share with you all." After Jia Wen explained her plan, the crowd couldn't hide their astonishment, their voices filled with doubt. "Build a legion?" Jia Wen nodded. "That's right. I'm sure you've all heard a thing or two about the reputation of us sisters, Shen Jia Wen and Shen Jia Mei, in West City, haven't you?" The crowd began to murmur amongst themselves. Someone said, "The Shen sisters of West City are a rare breed, surviving in the western suburbs without relying on a team. Their reputation is considerable." Another wondered, "But aren't the two of them supposed to be lone wolves?" Jia Wen smiled and continued, "For certain reasons, I need to establish a legion to expand my business. Although you are all human slaves, you are also talented individuals with your own specialties, even if you aren't warriors. You all have exceptional skills in your own fields. My offer is for you to use your freedom to build a career together." The guy with moss-green hair burst out laughing. "So that's how it is. If we don't agree, these collars won't come off, right? What's the difference whether we're free or not? It's just a fancier way of putting it." The human slaves looked at each other, their resolve wavering. Jia Wen was surprised by this reaction, waving her hands and giving a strained laugh. "How could you underestimate me so much? Ha ha." She pointed at the crowd and continued, "You should all be aware of my attitude towards human slaves back in Linjiang. It's common knowledge, really." With that, she opened a control panel and declared, "Therefore, I will not go back on my word." As she finished speaking, she pressed a button. Immediately, the explosive collars around the crowd's necks made a clicking sound and fell off. The entire group was stunned, touching their necks and stammering, "Hey, is this for real?" "Job done." Jia Wen turned and walked up the stairs, her voice ringing out clearly, "You will all stay here for one night. Think it over carefully. I won't force anyone who isn't interested to stay. You're free to leave any time before tomorrow," she added with a playful wink. "I look forward to hearing your answers." A moment later, after the sisters Jia Wen and Jia Mei had left, a voice spoke up. "What should we do?" Another replied, his voice full of calculation. "What else is there to do?" It was a few of the older men. Their shifty eyes revealed their cunning and ambition. One of them spoke up, "I have no intention of following." Some women around, bowing and scraping. "But I'm sure as hell not leaving here empty-handed." Meanwhile, in one of the rooms, Jia Wen lay on the bed, her breathing steady. Outside, the old men had gathered. The bald man asked, "Well?" The brown-haired man replied, "She's sound asleep." The bald man sneered contemptuously. "Ha ha, what a naive little fool. buying dozens of human slaves and immediately removing their collars. She's just one of those rich idiots with no brains. The sisters of West City, my ass. They're just two clueless flowers. The brown-haired man asked, so what's the plan? The bald man replied in a vile tone, knock her out, tie her up and find out where the weapons and supplies are. Then, he stuck out his tongue and licked his lips obscenely. Hearing this, the other two men laughed in excitement. Downstairs, the moss-haired guy looked annoyed and asked in a low voice, what are you people trying to do? A middle-aged man laughed, Brother Luo Jin. We wouldn't dare go against you. We're just grateful to our master for our freedom, and we want to repay her by teaching her a few lessons about life. Luo Jin gritted his teeth. So you enjoy repaying kindness with malice? The other guy patted the woman beside him on the shoulder and gave a wicked grin. How can you say that? I said we're repaying her, didn't I? The woman flinched at the pat and stammered awkwardly. Yes, that's right. Seeing their suspicious behavior, Luo Jin sighed. Whatever you all are planning, just don't lay a hand on anyone who doesn't want to go along with you. The man nodded with a sly smile. Of course. We have to respect a request from Big Brother Luo Jin, he thought smugly. Once we get the weapons, we can do whatever we want anyway. Back with the old men, they tiptoed into the room. They split up, each targeting one person. The brown-haired man walked over to the bed, raising his club high with a triumphant smile. This place is about to be our kingdom. He swung the club down. A loud thud echoed. The three men cheered. We got her. But they immediately realized something was wrong. The brown-haired man muttered, wait, that didn't feel right. Looking again, he saw the club pass right through Jia Wen's body. He screamed in panic. It's a hologram. The full scene returned, and he yelled, something's wrong, get out of here. Before he could finish his sentence, a flash of light slashed across his neck, and blood gushed out. His eyes widened in absolute terror. From above, a cold voice rang out, too slow. Trying to pull off a murder robbery and you're this sluggish? I was about to fall asleep. Jia Mei was perched on a roof beam, her gun aimed steadily at the traitors. On the other side, the club of the man with the buzz cut was also stopped dead in its tracks. Although he put all his strength into it, the club didn't move an inch. Jia Mei gripped the club tightly, a confident smile on her lips and a sharp look in her eyes. Can't you people be a little more decisive? Down in the main hall, a man was tapping his fingers, looking impatient, so slow. The middle-aged man glanced around, his face filled with anger. Why aren't they back yet? Luo Jin observed them, the corners of his mouth curling into a smug smile as his eyes glinted. Well, haha. It seems your little crew is pretty incompetent when it comes to getting things done. The middle-aged man looked at his expression, unable to hide his displeasure. Luo Jin kept his smile as he prepared to speak. Don't you? Before he could finish, the middle-aged man's body suddenly crumpled to the ground as everyone watched in horror. Jia Wen slowly walked in, the corner of her mouth lifting into a cryptic smile. Thump, thump. 20-something human slaves. A dozen or so of these lowlifes. Plenty of guts, but severely lacking in brains. She aimed her gun at the crowd, her eyes as cold as ice. At least there are still a few left that I can use. Just then, Jia Wen tossed a handful of badges onto the ground, leaving the crowd stunned. They stared in surprise at the glittering team insignias on the cloaks, shimmering in blue, red, and yellow. Luo Jin smirked, a triumphant glint in his eye. It seems the outcome of this fight is already decided. Hearing this, Jia Wen flashed a smug smile, her eyes sparkling. Haha. She aimed her gun at the group and snapped her fingers sharply. All right, everyone, it's time for the punishment round. The moment she said it, the traitors scrambled to flee. One of them screamed in a panic. But why? Why is this happening? Jia Wen strolled leisurely after them, reloading her gun as she taunted, Run along, little girls, run for your lives, or the big bad wolf will get you from behind. Her face was filled with amusement, her eyes sparkling with glee. Behind her, one of the last men clutched a bat, secretly waiting for an opening. Seeing Jia Wen let her guard down, he swung the bat with a roar. Now's my chance. Die. The weapon slammed hard into her body, but his eyes immediately widened in shock. A layer of energy armor flashed around Jia Wen, completely stopping the attack. She spun around, pointed her gun at his head, and gave a playful wink. Tell me, did you all forget about something called a personal force field? A gunshot rang out, and the man's head exploded. Once it was over, Jia Wen sighed and threw her hands up in exasperation. I didn't give them weapons or armor for a reason. I figured they'd try to betray me. Are these people completely brain dead? There's a limit to how stupid you can be. Watching the way she operated, Luo Jin and his group couldn't help but shudder. After a moment, Luo Jin finally spoke, his voice low. Don't you think that was a little excessive? Jia Wen turned back in surprise, her smile bright. Excessive? If I hadn't predicted this exact situation, I'd be the one dead on the ground right now. If they choose to repay kindness with betrayal, then they can't complain when they end up dead, right? She looked at Luo Jin, her expression serious and her eyes cold. People have to take responsibility for their choices, right? Luo Jin didn't answer. Zhao Wen turned her head and continued her pursuit of the runners. If we're going to work together in the future, you'll have to understand how I operate. Repay hatred with justice, and repay kindness with kindness. Late that night, outside the villa, the bodies of the traitors were strewn across the ground. Jia Wen calmly walked up, drew her gun, and with each shot, another one fell. To the traitors, she was like a ruthless demon, killing without a second thought, and she seemed to be enjoying every moment of it. But far away, one woman and a man managed to escape her line of sight. They stopped to catch their breath, panting. "Ha ha, we made it. We actually got away." The woman wiped the sweat from her brow, her voice trembling and her eyes filled with sorrow. She turned to the man behind her. "But what are we going to do now?" Before she could finish her sentence, a horrifying scene unfolded before her eyes. The man was being torn to pieces by a pack of monsters. He reached a hand out to her, pleading, "Save me, please, help me. I don't want to die." The woman staggered backward in terror, muttering, "Mutated creatures? How is this possible?" Just then, her back hit something soft and springy. She spun around, her eyes filled with horror. A giant figure loomed over her, lunging forward with its fanged mouth wide open. All she had time to do was let out a scream. Oh God! Blood sprayed through the air as her scream was cut short. Inside the building, Luo Jin and the others watched, breaking out in a cold sweat. He gritted his teeth. That thing from before. Was that a corpse-eating ghoul? The monster's shape was now clear. It was a giant humanoid. It was as tall as a building, with a single horn on its head and fresh blood dripping from its mouth. Looking into its deep, hollow eyes, Luo Jin felt a chill run down his spine. There are so many of them. This close to us? Unexpectedly, the corpse-eating ghoul turned and silently departed. The group was dumbfounded. "It's gone?" A blonde-haired man, his face aghast, spoke with a tremor in his voice. "Hey, hold on." He raised a hand, a cold fear still gripping him. "If we had decided to leave earlier, that means we would have had to get through all those monsters. Just the thought of it." The group members turned pale as they looked at each other, speechless. A hooded woman stammered, "You can't be serious." Seeing their panicked expressions, Jia Wen covered her mouth and burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha. Don't worry, don't worry. The mutated creatures here in the western suburbs have come to a basic understanding with the people. As long as you all move quietly during the day, there's no danger." Luo Jin, still reeling from the shock, asked doubtfully, "Really? Are you telling us that those mutated creatures, the ones that ambush from the shadows of nearby buildings, devouring the traitors you drove out, was just a coincidence?" "Heh." Jia Wen laughed, though her eyes grew serious. "What else? Don't tell me you think that I can actually control those monsters." Having said her piece, she turned and walked away, leaving them with one last chilling remark. There's a limit to even daydreaming. As they watched Jia Wen's figure disappear, Luo Jin and the blonde guy couldn't help but sigh in admiration. He plays people for fools, but making an example out of someone like that is brutally effective. After taking a few steps, Jia Wen suddenly stopped. He turned around with a mischievous wink. "Oh, right. I'll be in your care from now on, everyone. Welcome to my combat squad." Outside, the sun began to rise, heralding a new beginning. The corpse-eating ghoul slowly lifted its heavy hindquarters and lumbered away. Back in the real world, in a field next to a lush vegetable patch, a multicolored streak of light flashed. From within, a pair of legs jumped out. This person was none other than Song Chao. After leaving with the case of gold, he had returned to his own world. Looking around, Song Chao let out a sigh of relief. Phew, it's good to be home. Just as he was about to head inside, he stopped and thought to himself, then again, if I just show up in the backyard dressed like this, it's going to cause a lot of trouble. Rubbing his chin, Song Chao nodded. I'll have to figure out a better way to conceal my arrival next time. After a moment's thought, he decided to change his clothes first. A short while later, in a simply furnished room, an old man sat on a chair, his face etched with the passage of time. He looked wearily at Song Chao and spoke up. "A new medicine? You mean? It can cure tuberculosis? Are there any side effects?" This man was Song Chao's father, Song Wenqian. Song Chao held up the vial and concocted a story. "It's a new medicine that the company I'm working for just developed. It's already gone through animal trials, so I asked them for a few samples. All I have to do is provide them with the data afterward. If it works without any issues, we've really lucked out." Hearing his son's explanation, old Song broke out in a cold sweat. In a disgruntled voice, he asked, "Are you using your old man as a guinea pig?" Song Chao chuckled and explained, "Of course not. This stuff is incredibly expensive. We wouldn't have been able to get our hands on it otherwise." After a bit of coaxing, Old Song reluctantly agreed to take the injection. While administering the injection, Song Chao muttered to himself, I really hope this cures Dad's tuberculosis. Once finished, he turned to leave. Old Song clenched and unclenched his hand, sensing a change in his body, and called out, Chow. Song Chao turned back. Yeah? Old Song advised him in a gentle tone. Listen, I won't meddle in your business, but remember, never do anything that goes against your conscience. Song Chao smiled. Don't worry, Dad. Well, I'm off to work. With that, he rolled up his sleeves and departed. Sometime later, Song Chao showed up at Chu's Antiques. He placed a suitcase filled with gold bars on the counter. Old Chu stared at the glittering gold bars, his eyes widening in astonishment. These are these gold bars. Old Chu picked one up, weighing it fondly in his hand. Song Chao gestured. There are 6 of them in total. Mr. Chu, go ahead and name your price. After inspecting them for a moment, Old Chu seemed to notice something. He turned to Song Chao with a start, his voice laced with suspicion. Hey, young man, these gold bars of yours, they're Hearing this, Song Chao grew anxious. Huh, no, I brought them straight here. Old Chu eyed him skeptically. Is that right? He thought to himself, these bars don't have any serial numbers. But Song Chao didn't look like he was lying. After thinking for a moment, the old man snapped the suitcase shut. He fixed Song Chao with a sharp gaze. All right, I'll take them off your hands. But I can only offer you 250 per gram for this batch. Hearing the price, Song Chao was taken aback, his voice filled with disbelief. What? Why so low? Old Chu answered leisurely. Gold artifacts are one thing, but raw gold bars aren't easy to move. I have to use my own private channels to offload them. Just think of it as my service fee for handling all the loose ends for you. Hearing this, Song Chao's face fell. He was so dejected he couldn't even speak. A moment later, a pleasant notification chimed. Ding! A payment has been credited to your account. Song Chao accepted the transfer with a heavy heart, thinking, I had no idea it would be this hard to sell gold bars. Still, it's pure profit. Next time, I'll just stick to selling artifacts. Suddenly, his eyes lit up as if he'd just remembered something. He turned back to Old Chu and asked, By the way, Mr. Chu, do you happen to know a place that sells cars? Old Chu stroked his goatee in surprise. Cars? There isn't much of a selection here in Shaoxuan City. But if you're interested, young Mr. Song, I can recommend a place. I just bought my own car there recently. You could give them a try. As he spoke, he handed Song Chao a business card, and Song Chao departed. Old Chu immediately went online to contact his sources. Have there been any recent robberies involving gold depositories or jewelry stores? Someone replied, What? No way. Old Chu, what's gotten into you? Ha ha ha. Hearing that, Chu Fuyuan nodded to himself. Right. Sorry for the strange question. But inwardly, his nagging suspicion grew stronger. There's no crime report, the gold's origin is untraceable, and there are no serial numbers. Did he smelt the bars himself? But the tool marks and the level of oxidation suggest they aren't freshly made. He leaned back in his chair and sighed. This is giving me a headache, young Mr. Song. Should I even do business with him again? In stark contrast to Old Chu's mood, Song Chao took the pile of cash from the gold and strode cheerfully into a car dealership. A voice called out, Welcome, sir. Song Chao walked right up and stated his purpose directly. I'd like to buy a car. The female salesperson flashed a bright smile and led him away. Of course, sir. Please follow me, and I'll show you our available models. My name is Chen Jia. I'll be your sales associate. It's a pleasure to assist you. Mr. Song gazed at the lineup of cars, from SUVs and sedans to convertibles. Every car was sleek and sporty. Tong Chao couldn't help but let out a stream of oohs and ahs. Seeing that he was interested, the salesperson launched into his pitch. We have the best selection of cars in the region. This one is perfect for the local traffic, mainly because of its excellent design and features. Do you have an ideal price range in mind, sir? Tong Chao was startled and quickly replied, Oh, right. He turned to the receptionist, his voice firm. Let's start with a budget of 1 million. Hearing the number, the receptionist's eyes went wide and she yelled, What? Seeing Tong Chao's surprise at her reaction, she quickly covered her mouth to compose herself. Thinking she'd landed a big fish, she cleared her throat and bowed respectfully. So, do you have a specific type of car you prefer, sir? Tong Chao leaned on the railing, looking down at the rows of cars below. Pondering, he said, Let me take a look. Just then, his phone rang, making him pause. Then he took out his phone and turned to the employee. Please wait a moment. He answered the call. Hello? From the other end, a voice asked, Excuse me, is this Mr. Tong Chao? Tong Chao was surprised. I'm sorry, who is this? The 2 girls on the other end answered in worried voices, Mr. Tong Chao, we're Tutu's best friends. Xiao Li and Zhang Tulan. Although Tutu didn't want us to meddle, after talking it over, we decided it would be better to tell you. It was unclear what the two girls said, but it was as if Tong Chao had been struck by lightning. His eyes widened in shock. What? He replied repeatedly. Okay, I understand. Thank you. With that, he hung up. Seeing his expression, the receptionist was about to ask worriedly, Sir. Before she could finish, Tong Chao cut her off, his voice grave. Are you the manager? The girl was startled. Huh? Please, go ahead. Tong Chao pointed down at the cars. Do you have a car I can take right now? With a full tank of gas. A moment later, a sleek, SUV-style Range Rover Sport shot out of the garage. Its speed was so high it seemed about to fly off the road, and its price tag was a cool $1.5 million. Sitting in the cool, air-conditioned cabin, Tong Chao's heart was burning with anxiety. He gritted his teeth and thought, damn it, Tutu, you idiot. He recalled the phone call, asking worriedly, Wait, Zhao Li, can you tell me exactly what happened? Zhao Li replied, Actually, a rich young master from school has been pursuing Tutu lately, but she rejected him because of some bad rumors about him. Zhang Tulan continued. Today, he invited Tutu to a clubhouse, saying he needed her to help entertain a friend. Because the pay was high, Tutu went, but she told us not to tell her family. Zhao Li added, but we had a bad feeling about it, so. Hearing this, Tong Chao was burning with rage, gritting his teeth. Zhao Li, do you know where they went? She thought for a moment then replied, If I remember correctly, it was the Heaven on Earth KTV in the district. Back in the present, Tong Chao had already stopped the car in front of the establishment. He rushed out and barged inside. The receptionist greeted him warmly. Welcome, sir. Seeing Tong Chao's tense expression, her face turned pale. Hello, sir. Without a word, Tong Chao ran straight inside. The receptionist called out in a panic. Sir, please wait a moment. You can't just barge in like that. Sir, you're putting us in a very difficult position. Paying her no mind, Tong Chao forged ahead, his eyes scanning left and right, searching for the room number. Arriving in front of a room that looked like a VIP suite, he thought to himself, this must be the place. He pushed the door open and burst in, shouting, Tong Wen Tu. His eyes fell upon a young man harassing a girl. Seeing Tong Chao, the girl exclaimed in surprise, Brother. Seeing the scene before him, Tong Chao was shaking with anger, his entire body radiating fury. His eyes were bloodshot as he gritted his teeth and growled, Tong Wen Tu, I'm going to ask, and you're going to answer. What the hell is going on here? It was only then that he noticed there weren't just two people in the room. A group of young men were lounging around lazily nearby. The young man with the buzz cut, furious that his fun was interrupted, gritted his teeth. Who the hell are you? After a moment of shock, Tong Wen Tu cried out, Brother, why are you here? Hearing this, the young man's face twisted into a sinister smile. He snapped his fingers smugly. Oh, so you're her brother. You've come at just the right time. Stand right there and watch how we're going to teach your little sister a lesson. After the snap, his lackeys all stood up, their faces menacing as they advanced. Tong Wen Tu panicked, worried for her brother, her voice trembling. Brother, run. Call the police. As soon as she finished speaking, a blonde guy with a center-parted hairstyle sneered and threw a punch as he rushed forward. Why run? Just stay put. But before he could even feel smug, a punch as heavy as a mountain from Tong Chao landed squarely on his face. The force of the blow sent the blonde guy falling in a heap, his face completely deformed. Even his own parents wouldn't recognize him. Seeing this, the young master and Tong Wen Tu stared with wide-eyed shock. The remaining thugs roared and charged forward all at once. Tong Chao looked at their movements and thought to himself, too slow. Are these guys even serious? They're full of openings. He thought to himself, perhaps this is the power of the gene medicine. As he was thinking, he threw a punch that sent the whole group sprawling on the floor, completely thrashed. With them out of the way, Song Chao turned to face the young man. His eyes were blazing. I'm sorry. What was that you said earlier? I couldn't quite hear you. Sometime later, the orange-gold sunset bathed the small town, creating a picturesque scene. Song Wenshu walked beside her brother, her mind still in a fog. Still unable to process what had just happened, she asked in a faltering voice, Song Chao? He replied gently, What is it, Song Wenshu? As she remembered the scene back at the shop, her face filled with fear. Since when did you get so good at fighting? You took down, like, 6 or 7 guys. Did you have to learn all this just from dropping out of school to work? Song Chao rubbed his head, recalling the event. He said teasingly, You're the one to talk, bringing a recording pen with you. I almost thought you were in on it with those idiots, setting me up. His tone turned serious. So, why did you bring a recording pen? Song Wenshu laughed awkwardly. Well, you know. A girl's gotta know how to protect herself. Seeing how flustered she was, Song Chao grew annoyed. If you were that scared, you shouldn't have agreed to meet him. You weren't actually planning to pull some kind of scam, were you? Hitting a nerve, Song Wenshu started to sweat. She quickly turned away, stammering. Of course, I wasn't planning that. Seeing his sister's evasiveness, Song Chao roared angrily. Hey, turn around and look me in the eye when you say that. Flustered, Song Wenshu hesitantly answered. Actually, the reason I promised to come here was because I was planning to agree to date him. Song Chao jumped, his eyes widening. What? Wenshu sighed, her voice dropping. Well, we're short on money at home, and we can't pay off our debts. Besides, I'm at that age now. She paused for a moment before continuing. And look, he's not bad looking. It's not like I'd be losing out, right? And if that happened, you wouldn't have to struggle so much working outside. You could go back to college and finish your studies. Hearing this, Song Chao finally understood what his sister was trying to do. His heart warmed, but that feeling was immediately replaced by a sense of helplessness. So, if that guy hadn't revealed his true nature today, he would have actually become my brother-in-law, right? Wenshu nodded firmly, right. Hearing her answer, Song Chao's expression darkened as he thought to himself. Damn it. Is this what they call a total waste of effort? Looking at his sister, he saw her pull out the recording pen. But it's probably over now. With this, they probably won't dare to take revenge on us anymore. Song Chao shook his head. That little thing isn't enough of a guarantee. With that said, he started walking faster. Wenshu hurried to catch up, asking anxiously, Then what should we do? Song Chao's face grew serious, his voice decisive. Come with me. I'll show you something. A short while later, they arrived at a garage. Song Chao walked up to a new car, declaring confidently, If you don't want people coming after you for revenge, you need two things, strength and money. You've already seen my strength. My fists are a lot tougher than they used to be. On top of that, I found a great side job that pays pretty well. They even gave me a whole set of tools. Looking at the luxurious car in front of her, Wenshu was shocked. This is a company car? Song Chao nodded, his gaze firm. Trust me. Give me a little time, and I'll make sure our whole family lives the best life possible. We won't have to depend on anyone. I'll drag our family out of this pit of misery with my own two hands. We won't have to worry about money, and we won't have to be afraid of anyone pushing us around. As he spoke, he slapped the roof of the car, then caressed it like a precious treasure. I will definitely make it happen. Sometime later, the two siblings returned to their simple home. After Song Chao spent some time explaining about the vial in his hand, Wenshu asked worriedly, So what now? He grabbed his sister's arm decisively. It's time. Wenshu panicked. Wait, it doesn't hurt, does it? Song Chao chuckled. It won't hurt a bit. As soon as he finished speaking, he jabbed the vial into Wenshu's arm. She cried out in pain. Ah. He continued to explain. This is a drug to boost your immunity. As if suddenly remembering something, Wenshu turned to ask, By the way, have you given this to Mom and Dad already? Song Chao replied as he put away the vial. Yes. Why? Wenshu was skeptical. This new immunity-enhancing drug. Are you sure there's nothing wrong with it? Song Chao was surprised. She continued. Your company makes medicine, right? I get it if our family is basically being a guinea pig for company benefits. But what if something goes wrong? Song Chao cut her off to reassure her. Don't worry, this is a clinical trial. I tried it myself. I only brought it home for everyone after I knew there were no problems. Wenshu's face turned pale. Wait, you used it on yourself? Song Chao nodded nonchalantly. The technology is actually very well developed. He patted the medicine box and continued. They're just short on volunteers, production is still low, and they don't have enough data to go to market. That's all. Thinking of Jia Wen, he added, I kinda know the owner of this company. She's trustworthy. She's not only paying me a high salary, but she also gave me a company car. I was worried like you at first and was going to turn it down. Wenshu was touched and softly said, Brother. Song Chao sighed with a wry smile, but the offer was too good. Wenshu nodded but still reminded him, Oh, but you still have to be a little careful. Seeing that his sister had completely fallen for his bluff, Song Chao thought with a wry smile. Well, they do say the poor can't afford to think long-term. Suddenly, the chime of a message notification rang out, startling Song Chao, who quickly pulled out his phone to check it. Wenshu, who was standing nearby, immediately leaned in, eager for gossip. Whose message is it? Song Chao answered briefly. My old classmates' group chat. Seeing the sender's name, Wenshu couldn't help but frown in suspicion. It was a message from Miao Qing. Hey everyone, it's been too long. I'm planning a get-together for our friends. I'm inviting everyone to come have a meal and catch up. If you get this message, you have to be there. After reading it, Song Chao fell silent, a weary look on his face. An old classmate, but not a very good person, he muttered. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a blonde woman in a sharp business suit received the same class reunion message. She smirked and mumbled, "You've got to be kidding. Who has time for this during such a busy period?" Suddenly, as if remembering something, she paused and let out a soft ph. Wait a minute. She took off her glasses, her fingers swiping quickly across her phone screen, her eyes flashing with determination. "I'll give it a shot. Who knows, I might scout some talent." The next evening, Song Chao sat behind the wheel, dressed in a smart suit. He sighed warily. "Damn it, I still have to go." Yesterday, when he mentioned the reunion message, Wen Shu had cheered excitedly. "Your old classmates? You should go. You have to go." Song Chao, looking utterly fed up, groaned softly. "Forget it." Seeing her brother shake his head, Wen Shu looked puzzled. Song Chao sighed and continued, "Right now, work is the most important thing. I don't have time for these social games." Wen Shu stood up straight and replied seriously, "Comrade Song Chao, that's a very narrow-minded view. I remember a lot of your classmates went into the medical or pharmaceutical fields, right? Your company is also in pharmaceuticals. Isn't building connections and expanding your network something you should be doing?" Persuaded by his sister, Song Chao reluctantly nodded, though he still felt a pang of annoyance. He couldn't tell her that this was a jealousy-inducing drug from the future. After weighing his options, he got out of the car, slammed the doors shut, and muttered, "Whatever. She has a point. I'll see if any classmates can provide a sales channel. If not, I'll just eat a little and then sneak out." Muttering to himself, Song Chao slowly walked into the restaurant. His every move was watched by someone else, the same blonde woman from the day before. Dressed in her elegant business suit, she narrowed her eyes suspiciously. Her driver, noticing her strange expression, asked, "Miss Meng, is something wrong?" She shook her head. "It's nothing." With that, she opened the car door and stepped out. Turning back, she instructed the driver, "I'll call you when I'm leaving." The driver nodded. "Understood. I'll wait here for you then." Both Song Chao and the woman named Meng entered the restaurant with a long sigh, unintentionally sharing the same thought. "I hope this isn't a waste of time." At the entrance, a short guy with a gleaming gold front tooth flashed a wide smile and greeted them. "Long time no see. Welcome, welcome. Please, come in." "Oh, what a surprise." A voice rang out, making Song Chao turn in surprise. "Well, if it isn't Song Chao." The short guy with a villainous smirk sneered. "Still got that same poor-ass look, huh?" Song Chao, not one to back down, curled his lip in contempt and shot back, "Same to you." Still as short as ever. Miao Qing, who was insecure about his height and had to style his hair up to gain a few centimeters, flew into a rage at the comment. "What did you say?" he roared, his face turning beet red. Just then, someone else walked up, arms spread wide in a cheerful greeting. "Yo, Song Chao, you made it." Recognizing his old friend, Song Chao ignored the short guy and turned to reply, "Oh, hey, long time no see." His friend enthusiastically threw an arm around his shoulder and pulled him along, his voice full of excitement. Come on, let's go. You never come to these gatherings, so you have to take 3 shots as punishment." Hearing the mention of alcohol, Song Chao panicked. "Hey, I drove here today." And just like that, the two walked off arm in arm, leaving Miao Qing standing there fuming. "Shh, just some poor guy pretending to be rich," he muttered. At that moment, the woman named Meng walked in, glanced at Miao Qing, and said nonchalantly, "Long time no see, Miao Qing." Seeing her, the guy's expression instantly changed to one of delight. "Ah, Meng Yuetong, welcome, welcome." Yuetong paused and asked, "Was that Song Chao just now?" Miao Qing crossed his arms, his voice dripping with contempt. "Oh, him. His family's dirt poor, but he still tries to put—" Hearing that tone, Yuetong frowned, her voice turning cold. Speaking ill of a classmate behind their back is not appropriate. Miao Qing was taken aback and quickly tried to smooth things over. "Oh, you're right. I'll be more careful next time." As they were talking, a pink-haired girl approached and called out loudly, "Yuetong." After all these years, their old classmates had all changed. Yuetong looked at her, a hint of uncertainty in her voice. "Xiaojin?" Xiaojin grabbed her hand and pulled her along, saying excitedly, "Come on over here. Everyone's missed you so much." Yuetong replied, looking a bit flustered, "Sorry, I've just been so busy." And with that, the two girls walked off together, leaving Miao Qing standing there, staring blankly after them. He schemed to himself, Meng Yuetong, daughter of the chairman of the Meng Corporation. She's gorgeous, was a top student. I have to use this opportunity to get close to her. It could save me years of struggle. Elsewhere, Yuetong sat down next to Xiaojin, took a delicate sip of red wine, and then turned to ask, "Do you know how Song Chao has been lately?" Xiaojin was surprised. "Song Chao? I heard his family was pretty poor, and he had to drop out of school because he couldn't afford the tuition." She gave a mischievous wink. "What's this? A drama about a big company princess. fallen for a poor kid. Yue Zhu shook her head. How is that possible? But she couldn't help but recall the scene in the parking lot the other day. It was strange. His car was quite high-end, not like something a poor person would own. The more she thought about it, the more something felt off, but she told herself, whatever, it's none of my business. Let's see if there's any real talent here. With that, Yue Zhu began searching for a target. First, she asked Xiao Jin, any experience with major biological research projects? Xiao Jin shook her head. Then she moved on to another guy. What about scientific research? He refused. No can do, there are no internship opportunities right now. Another person said, hey, should I ask the professor for you? One after another, nobody was a suitable fit. Yuzu sighed and walked over to the glass window. Looking outside, she thought to herself, I was being too greedy. These people haven't even graduated or finished their theses, let alone worked on a real research project. Trying to find someone in this crowd to help the company overcome its difficulties. I was so naive. Having cleared her head, she decided to grab a quick bite and then leave. Just then, a voice caught her attention. Song Chao, come on, let's have a drink. It was Miao Qing. He was holding a beer, trying to goad Song Chao. The young man looked annoyed and refused. No, I drove here. Miao Qing wouldn't let it go and kept insisting. Don't be so boring. Don't worry, no one will laugh if you get drunk. As he spoke, he glanced over at Yue Zhu with a smug grin. A plan was forming in his head. Even though Song Chao was poor, he had a bit of a reputation in class. All Miao Qing had to do was take him down. Then he would make Yue Zhu notice his own outstanding looks. At this thought, Miao Qing excitedly raised his beer glass. His voice was triumphant. Come on. Looking at the fool in front of him, Song Chao was speechless and shot him a glare. I said, are you even listening to me at all? Just then, another friend walked over and clapped Song Chao on the shoulder with an enthusiastic voice. Isn't this great? Song Chao quickly tried to stop him. Hey, don't stir up trouble. The friend laughed heartily. It's fine. If you can't, I'll take you home. I'm allergic to alcohol. I can't drink. With the refusal pushed to this point, Song Chao could only click his tongue. Shh, all right, fine. He reluctantly took the beer glass, lifting it towards Miao Qing with a look of resignation. Come on, one drink. Seeing his opponent fall for the trap, Miao Qing chuckled to himself. Hey, I already took a sobriety pill. Today, I'm going to make you show your ugly side, which will only make my image shine brighter. He chugged the entire glass of beer in one go. As soon as one glass was empty, another was filled. Song Chao and Miao Qing went back and forth, downing glass after glass. Miao Qing imagined the scene of humiliating Song Chao. He was ecstatic, but it wasn't long before, after countless beers, he started to sway. Finally, he collapsed to the floor, vomiting violently. The friend next to them witnessed this and turned to Song Chao, bursting into laughter. Not bad, Song Chao. I had no idea you could drink so well. Song Chao waved his hand and shook his head. It's all from the training I got working part-time jobs. He was secretly relieved, thinking, I'm not even a little bit drunk. Is this really the effect of the gene potion? After emptying his stomach all over the floor, Miao Qing started to lose control. He stared blankly at everyone and roared, It's not fair. It's not fair. Then he pointed straight at Song Chao, his voice shrill. Why is it that everyone welcomes you, but nobody likes me? Song Chao was taken aback and just grunted, unsure how to respond, only managing an, Finally, he looked at Miao Qing and said, Miao Qing, I don't think I've ever offended you, have I? This just made Miao Qing roar even louder. It's that condescending attitude of yours. He flailed his arms and legs, shouting, You're clearly just another poor bastard, so start acting like one. Bow down to me. Seeing him getting too wild, his friends rushed to hold him back. Meow, man, let it go, it's all right. They coaxed him. Let's go to the bathroom so you can get it all out. A friend turned to Song Chao. Song Chao, you should probably head somewhere else for a bit. Song Chao awkwardly replied, and walked away. Over on the other side, Xiao Jin walked up to a bewildered Yue Zhu and asked, What are those guys up to? Yue Zhu shook her head. Beats me. Xiao Jin asked curiously, So, did you find anyone you're interested in? Yue Zhu sighed, Honestly, none of them have any project experience. They really can't help. Xiao Jin nodded. Well, we haven't graduated yet, after all. Yue Zhu said, dejectedly. I know. I was just in a rush and grabbing at straws. Just then, her phone started ringing insistently. Surprise, Yue Zhu took it out and saw the caller's name, thinking, Dad's calling? I specifically told him I was at a class reunion today. Did something happen? She waved to Xiao Jin. Sorry, I'll be right back. Stepping outside, Yue Zhu answered the phone. Hello? Is that you? A deep voice came from the other end. Find somewhere quiet. There's something I need to talk to you about. A moment later in the restroom, Yuezhu leaned against the sink and said softly, "Okay, did something happen?" The voice on the other end continued, "Yuezhu, listen to me calmly. The company has decided to scrap the research project you're currently in charge of." Hearing these words, Yuezhu's face went pale with shock. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. After the initial shock, Yuezhu took a deep breath to calm herself and asked quietly, "Did something happen?" From the other end of the line, her father's voice was steady. "It's just as you heard. The corporation's cash flow is in danger of being cut off. We can't pour any more money into the lab." He hesitated, then continued, "The lab still hasn't produced any results. This has made many people on the board of directors unhappy. We can no longer overrule them." Yuezhu said in a low voice, "Dad, do you remember how we analyzed that R&D was the only path forward for the corporation?" Her father replied, "I remember." Yuezhu continued, her voice firm. "In the current market situation, neither our products nor our production lines are competitive enough." Her father's voice was heavy. "I know." Her father emphasized, "Only with a huge investment could we break out of the second and third tier markets to compete in the first tier in the future." "I'm aware," he replied. Yuezhu pressed on, "If we don't take this gamble, we won't get another chance." Her father sighed, "I understand." All the hopes and dreams Yuezhu had cherished for so long blazed within her. She said loudly, "So," but before she could finish, her father cut her off. "I understand everything you're saying, but this time, we have no choice but to surrender." He walked to the glass window, looking down at the brilliant lights and bustling traffic of the city. His voice was filled with helplessness. "In truth, we're the ones who are powerless. We don't have the ability to continue funding this. Honey, before we can talk about ideals, we have to make sure the people who follow us can eat. I'm sorry." Hearing her father's words, Yuezhu couldn't hold back her tears. She covered her mouth, her voice choked with emotion. "Dad, just give me 3 more months. Help me buy just 3 more months. The gene repair drug experiment. I promise I'll give you and the board an answer." Hearing his daughter's pleading, her father couldn't help but sigh. "All right." He then ended the call. Yuezhu slowly walked out of the restroom, her face dejected. She told herself, "I've already done my best." With a heavy heart, she left, completely unaware that Song Chao was leaning against the wall behind her. His expression was awkward. "Looks like I heard something I shouldn't have," he muttered to himself, thinking about the gene drug. Song Chao was secretly pleased. So, Yuezhu's family corporation was in the pharmaceutical industry and was struggling with a gene project. "Maybe I can try selling the doctor's medicine to them." He decided to approach her, his heart soaring with joy. He whistled as he returned to the party room. As soon as he entered, Song Chao saw a group of his friends gathered together, with one of them shouting, "That's enough. Cut it out." Curious, he walked over and asked, "What's wrong?" Inside the circle, a very drunk Miao Qing slurred, "Come on, Yuezhu. Drink this whole glass." Yuezhu backed away, waving her hand. "No, I have to go home later." Miao Qing shoved the glass of wine toward her, cutting her off. "Cut the crap and down this glass." He moved closer, his eyes filled with displeasure. "Or is the great Miss Meng looking down on a drink from me?" Seeing his aggressive attitude, Yuezhu was startled and worried. Xiao Jin couldn't take it anymore and yelled, "Hey, show some respect, you drunkard." The friend next to him also scolded awkwardly, "Hey Miao Qing, you should shut up." But Miao Qing was completely controlled by the alcohol and had lost all reason. He roared, "All of you, get out of my way. I want her to drink my wine." Yuezhu trembled with anger, thinking to herself, "Seriously, why do I have to waste my time dealing with this drunk? This is ridiculous." Just as she was about to explode, a hand rested on her shoulder. Yuezhu turned to see Song Chao, who spoke in a cheerful voice. "I heard you're interested in products related to genetics. Could you spare a few minutes to talk?" Hearing Song Chao suddenly bring this up, Yuezhu was momentarily stunned, a look of surprise on her face. "Huh," she exclaimed. Seeing her still looking dazed, Song Chao continued, "So, about your corporation's genetic product, R&D project, I was hoping to have a chat with our class president about it." Only then did Yuezhu snap out of it. She said, "Oh?" and turned to Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin, I have something to discuss with Song Chao. You guys carry on, I'll be leaving first." Xiao Jin was surprised. "Huh?" Yuezhu raised a hand to wave. "I'll call you later." Without waiting any longer, she turned and left. This left Xiao Jin standing there stunned, muttering, "She's gone." On the other side, Miao Qing, who was being held back by his friends, grew even more furious watching the scene unfold. "Damn it, Song Chao, you broke bastard." He struggled to cause a scene, but with his small frame, he was helpless. He watched their figures disappear, roaring in his heart, "How dare you steal my chance to impress her? My Yuezhu, I won't let you get away with this." A while later, in the underground parking garage, the space was quiet. Yuzu turned to Song Chao and breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you. You only stepped in to help me, right? She gave him a friendly smile. You should go back and enjoy the party. I'll be going now. Song Chao was taken aback and quickly replied, Huh? No, that's not it. I really do have something to discuss with you. Seeing Yuezu's surprised look, he explained, Actually, I'm working for a friend's company right now, and they're researching a gene drug. They already have a sample. Hearing that the very thing she had been working so hard on without any progress was now being described as a finished product, Yuezu was stunned, her eyes wide with utter disbelief. Song Chao chimed in, Excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear your call just now. I was wondering if the class president would be interested in seeing a sample. To cooperate, Yuezu trembled with anger. What did you say? She crossed her arms, her voice icy. Song Chao, you helped me out. I'm very grateful for that, and I have no intention of pursuing the matter of you eavesdropping on our company's confidential information. Song Chao's face turned pale, not understanding what he did wrong. Yuezu said sternly, But please, don't look down on other people's work. Do you know what gene research even means? It's labs that cost tens of millions, even billions of dollars. World-renowned scientists work day and night, pouring their sweat and tears into it, just to prove one path is a dead end. The amount of money invested each year is countless, with no guarantee of results, all for painstakingly small steps forward over many months and years. And yet, my project was just shut down. And now you're telling me some research lab has a genetic product and wants to cooperate with me. She gritted her teeth in frustration. There's a limit to how much you can insult a person. Suddenly, she flinched, realizing she'd said too much. Ah, no, I was rude. I lost my composure for a moment, my apologies. She said indifferently. In any case, that's that. Thank you for your offer. If I'm interested, I'll contact you. With that, she got into her car and softly told the driver to go. The driver replied, Yes, ma'am. And the car drove off, leaving Song Chao frozen in place, watching helplessly. She's gone. Why did she suddenly blow up like that? Did I say something wrong? He mumbled in confusion. She didn't even leave a contact method or a business card. How is she supposed to contact me? She clearly doesn't believe me. But the problem is, I have the real thing. The next morning, somewhere in the city, Old Chu led Song Chao to a location. As they walked, he said, I never expected you to come to me for this kind of thing. Song Chao flashed a bright smile and replied, Isn't Boss Chu the one with all the connections? Hearing this, Old Chu flipped on a light switch and laughed heartily. Haha, young brother Song, you really know how to talk. As brilliant light flooded the area, a massive supermarket appeared before Song Chao's eyes. The shelves were packed with supplies and goods. Old Chu continued with a friendly smile, Don't worry. Just consider us friends. I have to help you out, of course. Song Chao glanced over the shelves. He couldn't hold back a gasp of admiration. Whoa, this is incredible. Old Chu began his introduction enthusiastically. This supermarket is old, but the price is fair. It's spacious, still has plenty of stock, and it's located not far from the city center or the countryside. The recent supply channels are also suitable for your needs. Even as Old Chu chattered on, Song Chao's eyes were glued to the glittering pile of goods, thrilled with all this stock. You can freely take anything you want without a second thought, Old Chu continued. If you think it's a good deal, for 500,000, I'll handle all the paperwork for you. Rest assured, I'll introduce you to the old supply channels. Song Chao exclaimed in surprise, Really? That's incredibly cheap. Seeing that he was pleased, Old Chu held up a finger and laughed loudly. Haha, I also want you to sell your gold through me. How could I possibly cheat you? But, little brother, you have to take good care of me, too. Any gold you have to buy and sell it through me. All right, Song Chao replied without a hint of hesitation. No problem. Hearing the decisive answer, Old Chu was delighted. Oh ho, you agreed without a moment's hesitation. He immediately turned around and said, All right, I'll go get the contract. With his experienced eye, Old Chu stroked his beard as he walked away, thinking to himself, he doesn't seem like a bad person, but where on earth does he get his gold? How interesting. After completing the paperwork to acquire the supermarket, Song Chao returned home. Faced with his story, both Old Song and Wen Shu couldn't help but be skeptical. Dad, Song Chao confirmed enthusiastically, Mem, I'm preparing to buy a supermarket. I need you to manage it for me. That friend of mine is quite rich, and I work for her now. She gave me some startup capital. I can't help with other things. I can only run errands, and then bring them some nice meat. Good food for them, as a small token of my appreciation. Hearing his son's words, Old Song stroked his beard, looking thoughtful. After a moment, he sighed. All right, then. This old body of mine probably can't last many more years in the mines anyway. Fine, I'll watch the store for you. Having persuaded his father to quit his mining job to look after the supermarket, Song Chao was secretly overjoyed. He clenched his fist, telling himself, "This way, Dad can finally escape the back-breaking work at the mine. I'll also have a reason to buy massive amounts of food and supplies. It's time to go back to the apocalypse." The very next day, the supermarket began operations. Old Song took on the role of the supermarket owner. Wen Shu walked out of the store carrying a heavy box and called out loudly, "Brother, the potatoes and white cabbage you needed, I packed them all up." While loading things into the car, Song Chao turned and replied, "Thanks, you can just put it on the ground for me." Seeing her brother carrying away a pile of goods, Wen Shu asked worriedly, "Be honest, are you sure there won't be any problems just giving this stuff away? That's your boss, right?" Song Chao reassured her, "Don't worry. If there's one good thing we have here, it's fresh food. There's nothing wrong with gifting this." He turned to his sister and smiled. "Speaking of which, carrying a big box of food like that without getting tired, your stamina is pretty good." After her brother pointed it out, Wen Shu realized the pile of things didn't feel very heavy, even though she was clearly carrying a lot of food. Putting the box down, she looked at her hands and thought to herself, "That's strange. I feel like I've gotten a lot stronger these past 2 days." Looking at the condition of his father and sister, Song Chao happily thought to himself, "Dad's complexion is clearly much better. His body is healthier too. The effects of this gene medicine are terrifyingly good. This is just the kind of high-quality product you'd expect from the apocalyptic world." Soon, the car was fully loaded, and Old Song and Wen Shu saw Song Chao off. Looking at the car in front of them, Old Song exclaimed, "Your company is really great. They even gave you such a high-end car." Song Chao smiled brightly, "Just company benefits." Seeing his son being valued so highly, Old Song was happy and gently advised him, "If your friend treats you this well, you have to work hard. Don't embarrass me, you hear?" Song Chao immediately replied, "Yes, yes, don't worry. I know what to do." After saying their goodbyes, Song Chao drove away, watching his family's supermarket slowly disappear in the rearview mirror. He mumbled, "This should be far enough." He glanced at the ring on his hand and thought, "Wan Ren, I can go back to the apocalypse now." But then he suddenly hesitated. "To be honest, I've already made enough money now. Why do I still have to risk my life in that dangerous apocalyptic world? It wouldn't matter if I didn't go, right?" After a moment of contemplation, Song Chao laughed at his own thoughts. "Haha, what the hell? Wouldn't that make me the very kind of person I hate the most?" He shouted, full of fighting spirit, "I refuse to be the kind of scumbag who just takes what he wants and bails." With one hand, he lightly twisted the ring. Song Chao shouted, "Otherworld, here I come." Instantly, a spatial portal appeared in mid-air, slowly pulling the car in. In the blink of an eye, the car vanished without a trace. The moment it passed through the portal, a strange light flashed across the sky in the apocalyptic world. Inside the factory, a ball of lightning crackled violently. With a loud bang, Song Chao's Range Rover appeared. Hurtling forward with the remaining momentum, a panicked Song Chao yanked the steering wheel, causing the car to swerve several times, before coming to a stop inside the cramped factory. Clutching the steering wheel, he let out a sigh of relief. Phew, it finally stopped. "I can't believe I actually transported the entire car here." But even with a few unexpected issues, getting the car over is a huge success. Song Chao mumbled, "This way, whether I'm coming here or going back, I'll be able to carry a lot more stuff." He opened the trunk to get his things, thinking to himself, "I'll put on my protective gear first, then go meet Shen Jiawen and the others. After all, this place isn't safe like the modern world." Holding a piece of armor, he mumbled, "I never know if there's some monster lying in ambush." He hadn't even finished his sentence when a drop of zombie drool dripped onto the piece of armor. Song Chao was startled and quickly drew his automatic pistol. His voice panicked. "What the hell?" The red-eyed zombie charged straight at him. Song Chao spun around, raised his gun, and fired. 2 shots rang out. The zombie fell to the ground with a thud. He wondered, "Oh, is it dead already?" Seeing it lying still, Song Chao breathed a sigh of relief. "Looks like I've got some talent after all." Took it down with 1 shot. But before he could finish, a metal bar fell from the roof. There was still a bullet hole in it. Song Chao's face paled as he thought, "My shot hit the metal bar." Then who shot the zombie? Just then, a figure approached, and a concerned voice called out, "Hey, are you okay?" Smoke was still curling from the barrel of his gun as the man looked over at Song Chao. It was none other than Luo Jin. Recognizing Song Chao, he couldn't hide his surprise and asked, Isn't this the head of logistics? What are you doing here?" After a long conversation full of explanations, Song Chao pulled Luo Jin over to the trunk and shoved a pile of supplies into his arms. Seeing this, Luo Jin quickly held up a hand to stop him. "All right, that's enough. Let's just leave the rest of the stuff with the car for now." Shouldering the pile of supplies, Luo Jin turned to Song Chao. His voice was serious. Carrying too many supplies will affect our speed. We have a 30-minute walk, and we have to avoid a lot of monsters along the way. The slower we are, the more dangerous it gets. Hearing this, Song Chao nodded in agreement. After walking a short distance, he glanced back at his newly acquired car, left all alone. He asked worriedly, "Will the car be okay here?" Luo Jin replied while clearing the path ahead, glancing back. Usually, those mutated creatures aren't interested in inanimate objects. If something does happen to it, we'll just have to abandon it. I have to take you to see the boss lady first. Then we can organize a team to come back for it. Hearing Luo Jin say that, Song Chao could only nod, but his eyes still lingered on the car. He muttered to himself, "I hope nothing happens to the car and the food." Seeing Song Chao staring so intently at the car, Luo Jin chuckled and continued, "You know, this is the first time I've seen an off-road vehicle without any weapons or modifications. It's purely built for comfort, yet you still managed to bring back so many good things with it. You're truly worthy of the boss lady's high regard." Song Chao was taken aback and asked, "Are you talking about me?" Luo Jin replied instantly, "Who else?" Song Chao could only smile wryly to himself, thinking that this Minister of Logistics title was definitely a joke. It was as if they were putting him on a pedestal to be sacrificed. By now, the sky had grown dark. Luo Jin led Song Chao into a narrow alley, avoiding any unwanted creatures. As they walked, he explained that the current situation was tense, but luckily, he had made it back in time. "In another 2 days, we have to move the base." Song Chao asked in surprise, "Did something happen?" Luo Jin's voice dropped as he replied, "I'm not too clear on the details myself. I heard the boss say that a beast tide is about to begin," he explained thoroughly. "When that happens, hundreds of thousands of mutated creatures will swarm in, including many mutated zombies, and there will even be high-level monsters, maybe even giant corpse fiends." Hearing this, Song Chao's face went pale. Just the thought of being trapped in the middle of a monster horde made him shudder, his mind going numb. He yelled out in frustration, "Wait a minute, are you guys just going to dump me here?" Luo Jin replied with a wry smile, "Who knew you'd pop out of a place like that, driving a car with no armor? Besides, look, didn't we already clear out all the mutated creatures around here? And then we picked you up, so don't worry about these little details." "Absolutely not," Song Chao said, his voice full of grievance, but Luo Jin just chuckled and brushed it off. Chatting as they walked, they gradually approached the base. Bright electric lights illuminated the entire area. Luo Jin pointed towards the light and said, "All right, look, we're here." The base had changed so much since Song Chao last saw it, leaving him astonished. He asked, startled, "What?" Just then, a familiar voice called down from above, "Luo Jin, I told you to go on patrol, and you bring me back a big present." But from a ledge not far away, Jia Wen looked down and saw the two of them, her clear voice ringing with amusement. "Do you two handsome guys need a guide?" Recognizing her, Song Chao happily replied, "Uh-huh. More than welcome, boss." After some catching up, Jia Wen led Song Chao and Luo Jin back to the base. As she walked, her voice was filled with amusement. "I didn't expect you to come back with Luo Jin. As always, you have a magical way of showing up at just the right moment." At this, she perked up, her eyes sparkling. "So, what kind of present do you have for me this time?" Looking at Jia Wen's greedy expression, Song Chao gave a helpless, wry smile and replied, "You can open the container yourself later. Let's just say you have something to look forward to." Seeing his expression, Luo Jin burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha ha. I can only say, you're truly worthy of being someone the boss values." When he took that stuff out, I was just blown away. Jia Wen winked playfully and replied, "Oh, in that case, I'll gratefully look forward to it." Walking behind Jia Wen, Song Chao spoke up, "I heard you started a company." Jia Wen smiled and corrected him. "It's a combat team, but you can call it a company if you want." Song Chao asked again, "So what's this about a minister of logistics?" Jia Wen replied nonchalantly, "Well, you're a big shot who can find supplies. It's only natural to give you an officer position." Hearing that, Song Chao said, half jokingly, "I just feel like you're setting me up as the sacrificial lamb." Jia Wen gave a wry smile and said, "You should be grateful. Do you know that Jia Mei originally wanted to name the logistics team the Scream for Nothing Squad? It was full of malice." At this point, Song Chao suddenly remembered something and asked curiously, "Speaking of which, what's your combat team's name?" Hearing the question, Luo Jin suddenly looked away, whistling as if he didn't want to hear the answer. Seeing his attitude, Jia Wen turned back to question him. "You got a problem with the name I picked?" Luo Jin frantically replied, "No, not at all." Hearing their exchange, Song Chao grew even more suspicious, thinking to himself, "What on earth is the name?" Before he could think any further, Jia Wen announced, "We're here." From inside, GMA saw them and cheered happily, "Ah, sis, you're back." Noticing Song Chao next to Jia Wen, she was startled for a moment, then lunged towards him. "Brother Chao, welcome back." Afraid of being tackled, Song Chao quickly jumped to the side. Jia Mei's momentum sent her tumbling to the ground. She scrambled up with an aggrieved tone. "Brother Chao, you're so mean." Looking at her expression, Song Chao could only offer an awkward smile. Glancing at the people around them, Song Chao thought to himself, so this is Shen Jiawen's team. When he left, the group that moved here was quite large, but now only a fraction remained. He couldn't help but feel suspicious, sensing that the number of people had clearly dwindled. Seeing Song Chao staring blankly at the crowd, Jia Wen approached him and said, "Come on, let me introduce you to everyone on the team." "Oh, right, welcome back to the fire store." After introducing all the members, the group entered the base. A wisp of smoke drifted by, carrying the rich aroma of food. In an era where food was more precious than gold, when people barely had enough to eat, this scent was truly irresistible. A little while later, Song Chao lifted the lid of the pot and said, "It's ready, let's eat." Looking at the dishes in the pot, the whole group couldn't help but be curious. A blonde-haired guy asked, "Wow, what is this?" After the food was introduced, everyone became excited, unable to believe they were about to enjoy such a delicious meal. Someone exclaimed, "My life has been worth it." Even Luo Jin couldn't hold back, moved to tears. This is the most authentic taste of food. After the delicious meal, Song Chao's position on the team was even more solidified. The blonde model enthusiastically walked over and slapped the logistician hard on the shoulder. "Boss, you're amazing. From now on, I'm your man. Just point the way, and I'll do the fighting." Receiving the heavy pats, Song Chao winced and cried out, "That hurts." Seeing that everyone's enthusiasm was a bit over the top, he quickly tried to slip away. By the cliff, Jia Wen was whistling with a toothpick in her mouth when she saw Song Chao running over. She flashed a bright smile. "Oh, welcome." Song Chao gave her a helpless look and spoke. "Isn't this a bit of an overreaction? It's like they've never eaten before." Jia Wen smiled brightly and replied, "The reality is, they haven't. You're the first idiot I've seen who dares to share this stuff with others." Song Chao asked doubtfully, "Did I do something wrong?" Jia Wen shook her head. "Of course not. At a time like this, a good meal is great for morale." Remembering Luo Jin's words, Song Chao asked, "I heard Luo Jin say earlier that the mutated creatures have been very active lately." Jia Wen nodded, her voice serious. That's right. It's the calm before the storm. Our facility can handle a regular mutant outbreak, no problem, but it's not enough to face a horde. Besides, once these things gather, they usually aren't interested in things they can't eat, so our people usually escape to Linjiang to hide. People need to leave quickly, before the beast tide arrives." Song Chao, still confused, asked, "What?" Jia Wen pointed outside and explained, "Look, we call a mass gathering of mutated creatures a beast tide. In 2 days at most, a massive beast tide will overwhelm this place. We've already started preparing. We were originally waiting for news from you. Now that you're here, there's no reason to stay any longer." Hearing about leaving, Song Chao became flustered. Actually, Jia Wen was surprised. "What's wrong?" It was then that he revealed the supplies he'd left in the trunk of his car. Hearing this, the group exclaimed in unison, "There's more?" Song Chao pointed to Luo Jin and explained, Luo Jin and I only brought back half. The rest is still in the car." Luo Jin gasped. "So there were that many supplies in the car?" Hearing about food, the gluttons became excited. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's hurry and bring the supplies back to Linjiang." Jia Mei turned to Jia Wen, her voice pleading, "Sister." Jia Wen was helpless and finally said, "I can tell you people are just slaves to your desires." After a moment, Jia Wen sighed, giving in to her sister. "Fine. Luo Jin, Rampage, Shui Luo, the 3 of you are with me." She commanded decisively, "We'll be a 3-person squad. Feng Xin, Zemo, Mei Mi, you 3 will follow Jia Mei as the fire team's guides. As for Song Chao, you'll lead the support team with Huo Xiangjie at the rear. Your job is to point out the route for the vanguard." Hearing his name, Song Chao was startled. "Me?" Jia Wen pointed to the group behind him and said, "Go get to know your team members. Build a good relationship with them." The next morning, as the sun began to rise, the convoy set off. Rampage shouted excitedly, "Move aside, you monsters. I'm here." Seeing him shouting, Luo Jin quickly reminded Rampage, "Keep it down. We don't need to fight any mutated creatures here." Rampage protested, "What's there to be afraid of, boss?" Then turned to Jia Wen with a smirk. "Think of it as team training, right, boss?" Jia Wen frowned in annoyance. "Weirdo. You'll have plenty to do later. Don't waste my ammo now. Be careful, or I'll dock your food rations." Rampage was disgruntled. "No way." Ignoring him, Jia Wen turned on her radio to talk to Song Chao. "Song Chao, you and Luo Jin met up at the underground parking lot, right? From the other end, Song Chao confirmed, "Ah, that's right." Jia Wen nodded. "Okay, that's good. Go build a good relationship with the people in the logistics team. I'll call you when we get there." Hearing her mention building relationships, Song Chao looked at the group in front of him. He couldn't help but feel helpless, thinking to himself, "What am I supposed to do?" He extended his hand to start a conversation. "Come to think of it, I don't even know your names yet. Since we'll probably be working together from now on, let's introduce ourselves." The man with the goatee nodded and spoke up. "That's right." He introduced himself. "I am Fei Xue. As you can see, I'm an office worker who's pretty good with paperwork and planning." The girl in the baseball cap clasped her hands. "Alina. I'm a doctor. It's a pleasure to meet you." The other girl also spoke up. "Oh, I'm Kana. You could say I'm a cook. Please take care of me." Song Chao nodded and replied, "I'm Song Chao. I used to work with Shen Jiawen's group, and then for certain reasons, we started a joint venture together." Looking at the team before him, a secretary, a doctor, a cook, all people with zero combat ability, Song Chao buried his face in his hands in despair. Just then, the car came to a sudden halt. The whole group tumbled backward. Jia Wen looked ahead and asked Luo Jin, "Is Song Chao's car really here?" Luo Jin looked up and replied, "Although I can understand why you're asking that, boss. Unfortunately, this is the place." Hearing this, Jia Wen called out, "Song Chao, come out for a second." The guy, nursing a lump on his head, clumsily crawled out and asked, "What's up? Are we there yet?" Jia Wen pointed behind them. "We're here, but the plan has to change." Following her gesture, Song Chao was stunned. Right there in the underground parking area, a massive horde of monsters was in chaos. Jia Wen watched them. She said, "This is the beginning of a beast tide." Song Chao broke into a cold sweat and muttered, "There are so many of them." As Jia Wen explained about the beast tide, she tapped her earpiece to call everyone. "The monsters here are starting to gather. In a day or two, their numbers will surely swell to hundreds, maybe even over 1,000. Everyone, it's showtime. The objective is to retrieve Song Chao's cargo and vehicle, and then get out. But now, a few uninvited guests have appeared in front of our objective. We'll have to use a different method to ask them to make way. Jia Mei, your fire support team will start us off." Receiving the order, Jia Mei immediately opened the door, stepped out, and replied enthusiastically, "Roger that." Jia Mei is ready to shine. Below, a skeletal monster was lumbering along when it suddenly turned its head as if drawn by something. A cannon shell flew straight toward it, causing the monster's eyes to widen in terror as if it foresaw its fate. An instant later, a deafening explosion erupted, and its massive body shattered into pieces. Jia Mei said smugly, "Bullseye, you're up, sis." Receiving the signal, Jia Wen gave her orders. "Scout, hold your position. Provide covering fire. Feng Xin, Z, Havoc, you're with me. Luo Jin and Rui La, take the front. Draw the monsters aggro, try to lure them along the way, and protect the others from being attacked. Song Chao, follow me. You'll drive your own truck." Song Chao panicked. "This is insane." Jia Wen urged him on as she advanced. "This is the fastest and safest way. We don't have much time to waste here. The beast tide is coming." The vanguard team charged in to engage the enemy. Below, two mutated wolves dashed forward at lightning speed. Luo Jin and Rui La immediately rushed to the front line. Luo Jin shouted, "Scout, keep up the suppressing fire. Leave these to us." Now within range, one of the mutated wolves leaped into the air and pounced on Luo Jin. He raised his shield to block, smashed it hard against the creature's head, and roared, "Die." At that exact moment, the other one lunged from behind. In that hair-raising moment, a flash of a sword split the wolf in two. The one who struck was none other than Rui La. She watched the monster's corpse fall, her gaze resolute. Having escaped death, Luo Jin turned to thank her. "But it looks like we've got a new playmate." Following his gesture, a monster resembling a dried squid appeared. A tough-skinned soul devourer. Luo Jin asked, "It's pretty tough. What should we do?" Rui La spun her sword and replied, "It's fine. It's not so tough that I can't cut it." As she finished speaking, she unleashed a flurry of slashes, and the energy from her sword pierced straight through the monster's head. But as soon as the first one fell, two more immediately advanced, worrying Rui La. Just then, Jia Mei fired another cannon shell. A loud explosion rang out, and the bodies of the soul devourers collapsed. Luo Jin was startled. Hey, what if you hit one of us?" Rui La smiled. "It seems our young lady is very confident in her skills." Watching the monsters that were still swarming in, Luo Jin asked seriously, "Can you keep this up, swordswoman?" Rui La replied, "Of course, no problem." The shield wielder, Song Chao, watched the explosion and marveled to himself. This is an intense fight. Outside the parking lot, he looked down at the vehicle surrounded by monsters. Zhao Wen asked, "Is that your truck?" Song Chao nodded, "Yes, that's the one." Jia Wen said, "All right, you and Havoc will charge through to get the truck. I'll provide cover." Havoc replied excitedly, "No problem. Watch me." With that, he leaped down and shouted, "Logistics boss, follow me. Don't you dare fall behind." As soon as he landed, Havoc charged forward with his gun, not forgetting to add, "Stay close, boss." As he approached, the mutated wolves spotted him. Havoc opened fire, and one of them took a bullet and collapsed. Another one lunged at him, but within seconds, it too was shot through the head. Seeing that the horde had thinned out, he urged, "Logistics boss, hurry up and get the truck." Song Chao replied, "Got it." He ran straight to the vehicle. Just as he opened the door and got in, a monster lunged out of nowhere, aiming right for the driver's seat. Song Chao quickly drew his gun and gritted his teeth. Damn it. But before he could pull the trigger, the monster was blown to bits. The one providing cover was Jia Wen, who was sliding down while firing toward the vehicle. Havoc leaped onto the truck and yelled, "Drive, get us out of here, you idiot." Song Chao quickly replied, "Oh, right." He put the key in the ignition, started the truck, and sped straight toward Jia Wen, who was providing cover. As he got close, he shouted, "Shen Jia Wen, I'll stop the truck, get on." Jia Wen replied, "No need, just keep driving." With that, she leaped into the air before their astonished eyes and landed gracefully on the roof of the truck. She said, "I'll continue to handle the pursuers from back here." The mutated wolves were still chasing them relentlessly as Jia Wen fired her weapon and contacted the others via radio. "All squads, the objective has been secured. You can disengage." Hearing the announcement, the teams ceased their attacks. Jai Wen continued, "Jai Mei, give me your coordinates and blast a path through the wreckage at your location. Everyone else, get in the car. We're heading to Linjiang." The plan was a success. Everyone cheered with joy, except for Song Chao, who could only laugh helplessly. Song Chao mumbled, "I think she just said blast a path." Just then, a loud boom echoed. A huge explosion erupted ahead, kicking up a cloud of dust and smoke. The car sped right through it. Flying over the debris, Jai Wen let out a sigh of relief. "All right, everyone, let's head to Linjiang." After some time, the group arrived at Shujing's hospital. She was surprised and asked, "Are you preparing to pack up and move to Linjiang?" Jai Wen's lips curled into a slight smirk, a mischievous glint in her eyes, when she heard Shujing complaining about the beast tide. How could that be? When the beast tide hits, I don't want to be bankrupted by them. The people behind them had already started hastily moving things inside. Inside, Shujing, clearly not pleased, frowned and asked, "Have you found a place to stay yet?" Jai Wen replied with a cunning smile, "How about you let us borrow your place for a while?" Hearing this, Shujing immediately snapped, "I run a private hospital, not a resort." Without letting her catch a breath, Jai Wen quickly cut her off, "I'll give you a crate of supplies." But as soon as Shujing heard about food, her tone immediately softened. "Then I want the meat and the chicken eggs to go." "You thief!" Jai Wen laughed in response. Shujing sighed and said reluctantly, "Fine, we'll charge you 1 crate of supplies per month for now." Then she pointed in one direction, her voice full of insinuation. "What is this all about?" Following her finger, Song Chao's red Land Rover was now just a pile of scrap metal, completely wrecked and torn to shreds. Song Chao was on his knees, his spirit crushed, a smile on his face wet with tears. Seeing his pitiful expression, Jai Wen scratched her head in confusion and asked, "Isn't this just a collector's car? It's just a little damaged by the monsters. There's no need to be so sad, right?" Hearing that, Song Chao flew into a rage and screamed, "If you don't know what you're talking about, can you just shut up? This car is worth more than 10,000 vehicles of food." The astronomical figure left Jai Wen speechless, and she too dropped to the ground. She trembled with regret, just as much as he did. But seeing the two of them looking so devastated, Shujing just shook her head helplessly. "You guys seem to be having a lot of fun, huh? By the way, are you sure the beast tide is coming? Except for your place, no one else has reported any sightings." Seeing any signs of a beast tide rising, Jai Wen immediately narrowed her eyes, her voice filled with annoyance. "What are you doubting?" I am Shen Jai Wen. Every blade of grass, every tree in Jijiao is under my control. When a mutant creature so much as lifts its butt, I know what it's about to do." Her words were as firm as a nail. "The beast tide will definitely come. If you don't believe me, you will certainly pay the price." But hearing that confidence, Shujing could only sigh, "Is that so?" Then she held up her phone and continued, "All right, the intelligence agency contacted me. They told me to pass a message to you." Jai Wen took the phone and read the text. "The leaders in the city have all gathered. They want to ask you about the beast tide." She immediately called over to Song Chao, who was still mourning his lost car. "What is it? Hold the phone." Jai Wen tapped him on the head. "Stop dawdling. You're coming with me to a meeting tomorrow." As she turned to leave, she continued. It's a good time to introduce our team and promote our sphere of influence. You'll come with me to meet the decision makers. As for that car, give it to me Ba and see if she can fix it. Xu Jing threw cold water on her plan from behind. That's easy for you to say. Are you prepared? Jia Wen scratched her face and gave a wry smile. I have no choice. I have to go say hello first. After all, there are 1 or 2 people I can't handle. The next morning, in the North Linjiang district, a place where skyscrapers with modern architecture rose up, Song Chao looked up and marveled. Wow, the headquarters is huge. Seeing Jia Wen lead him here, he asked doubtfully, why did we have to pick this place? Aren't we supposed to have a group meeting? Jia Wen replied in a calm voice. Before that, I need to get on the same page with Yan Wang first. Song Chao was surprised. The Yan Wang you mentioned before, didn't you say you had some problems with him? Jia Wen nodded. Yeah, that's right. There's a little bit of friction. As they entered the main hall, a girl with short platinum blonde hair approached them. Her tone was polite, but she couldn't hide her annoyance. Welcome, Lady Shen Jia Wen. The minister has been waiting for you for a long time. Seeing her attitude, Jia Wen crossed her arms and replied, long time no see. Mi ba. But I don't want to make things complicated. Reaching a common understanding with Yan Wang will save us a lot of trouble. Mi ba nodded. I understand what you mean, my lady. This way, please. As she led the way, Song Chao leaned close to Jia Wen and whispered, you two don't seem that hostile. Jia Wen gave a wry smile. Well, in a way, she's considered an ally. Mi ba led them to a large room and announced, Minister, Miss Shen, Jia Wen, and Mr. Song Chao have arrived. From inside, a voice called out, come in. The door opened to reveal a person with long, blonde hair sitting in a chair. Flanking her were 2 well-dressed bodyguards. Hearing her voice, Song Chao was stunned. Yama is a woman? Before he could process his surprise, Yama began to tremble, her eyes lighting up as she lunged toward Jia Wen. Shen Jia Wen, it's been too long. Let me give you a kiss. Jia Wen sent her flying towards Miba with a single kick. Without missing a beat, Miba shoved Yama back into her chair with a palm strike. Song Chao stared blankly, completely confused, as Miba ordered the bodyguards, get a move on. Don't let her embarrass herself any further. Restrain the minister. The bodyguards rushed forward. Some grabbed her arms, others her legs, pleading, that's enough, minister. Please calm down. I'm begging you, don't cause a scene. But Yama kept struggling. Let me go. Shen Jiawen, just let me give you one kiss. Jiawen sighed helplessly, while Miba's face went pale. Minister, please calm down. Finally, Yama tried to save face. It's just, seeing a dear friend after so long made me a little overexcited. I didn't realize we had a guest I've never met before. Please forgive my impoliteness. Song Chao gave a stiff laugh. Oh, it's nothing. Yama continued, composing herself. Well then. Since it's our first meeting, I am the minister of the Linjiang Department of Population Registry. One of the most powerful people around, I might add. Therefore, I vehemently demand my personal freedom be restored. Miba retorted. Annoyed, dream on. The minister of the Department of Population Registry, Zhao Wen sighed, introducing her to Song Chao, Farron. She's a foreigner and the leader of the largest violent organization in North Linjiang. She controls the zones in this city. She's not afraid to use force. Most of her subordinates are thugs, criminals, and gangsters. She deals in mercenaries and intelligence, and has a cruel, bloodthirsty personality. That's why she earned the nickname Yama after the King of Hell. She's also a total pervert. Song Chao nodded. Zhao Wen crossed her arms, her voice stern. I didn't come all this way just to watch you put on a show. Can we get down to business? Seeing her serious tone, Yama instantly dropped her playful act. Oh, you're breaking my heart. Then, quick as a flash, she broke free from her restraints. She returned to her chair, propped her chin on her hand, and asked, So, my dearest childhood friend, what is it that you want? Zhao Wen replied, her voice steely. It's about the beast tide, and don't you dare cause any trouble for me. Yama nodded. Her voice grew serious. Relax. At the end of the day, I'm also responsible for this city. Am I not? She raised a single finger, her eyes skeptical. But aside from you, Jia, no one, not even the local mercenaries in West Jiao, has reported anything about a beast tide. Zhao Wen smiled confidently. I'll explain everything at the meeting. But mark my words, the beast tide is absolutely coming, and it's going to be massive. Yama's lips twisted into a smirk, her expression as confident as ever. Is that all you came for this time? Zhao Wen answered right away. I want to buy equipment and supplies from you. Oh ho, Yama exclaimed in surprise. Zhao Wen continued firmly. The only equipment available on the Linjiang market is level 2, but old man Zhao used to have armor-piercing ammunition that could penetrate level 2 gear. If you can get your hands on it, I needed to arm my team. Yama nodded. That can be arranged, but Can you afford it? Jiawen scoffed smugly. At my level, money is the least of my worries. She pulled Song Chao forward. Let me introduce you. This is the quartermaster of the flower shop, my partner, Song Chao. Song Chao spoke up nervously. Hello. I'm Song Chao. Jiawen continued. He has access to a lot of rare items, although the quantity is limited each time. The quality is top-notch. Yama sounded unimpressed. Oh, we'll see about that. Miba cut in. If you wish to trade goods for goods, please provide us with a list. Seeing that things were settled, Jiawen stood up. No problem. That's settled, then. As she and Song Chao walked toward the door, she added, as for the other matters, we'll finalize them this afternoon. The moment they left, Miba turned to Yama, her voice full of doubt. Is this really okay? Yama looked surprised. What is? Miba replied, giving her a source to buy equipment. We'll lose our leverage and our reason to get involved in West Jiao's affairs. Yama stood up and walked to the glass window, her gaze turning cold and sharp. It doesn't matter. I wouldn't let West Jiao fall into anyone else's hands regardless. Besides, she's the rightful ruler of West Jiao anyway. Trying to take her territory would mean becoming sworn enemies, and we gain nothing. Compared to that, staying on good terms with our colleague is far more profitable. She mused. The real problem now is, if this beast tide truly happens, Shen Jiawen will use it as an opportunity to officially take the stage and build up her team's prestige. Then, she gave an order. Miba, recall all personnel from the Department of Population Registry. See if we can leverage this information gap to offset our losses. The beast tide is most likely real. Miba complied. Yes, ma'am. She watched as the figures of Jiawen and Song Chao faded into the distance. Yama sighed. What a headache. She comes here, calls in an old favor to get a new supply channel. She never misses an opportunity, right from the very start. Shen Jiawen. 4:30 p.m. In the virtual meeting room of the Linjiang Central District, the figures of the leaders materialized as three-dimensional projections, and one of them spoke up. All right, let's reach a consensus on this beast tide incident. Yama. Farron, the minister of the Population Survey Department, spoke up. Let's vote on whether or not we believe Shen Jiawen. The Baldy, head of the Linjiang Security Group, nicknamed the General, said, I understand you want to support little Shen, but right now, there are no signs of a beast tide on the perimeter. A man in a hood and high-tech glasses, the head of a private intelligence firm nicknamed Fatty, added, That's right. We haven't received, so a few small-scale beast tides might appear in the West District, but it's not worth making such a big deal, is it? Jiawen replied, her voice firm. Believe me or not, that's up to you. I'm telling you now, the scale of this beast tide will likely be far greater than you imagine. And I didn't come to Linjiang to beg you to believe me. I only came to get my equipment and organize our defenses, Fatty grumbled. Still, as disrespectful as ever, Yama, with his usual lecherous grin, said, Well, I've decided to believe her. Jiawen scowled and snapped. Everyone knows exactly what your tastes are. Could you please shut your mouth? In principle, I understand why you're all skeptical of my intel. After all, my organization is on another level, but I'm not targeting anyone in Linjiang. When it comes to understanding the behavior of mutated creatures, no one is better than me. She shot a challenging look at Fatty. Fatty, want to make a bet with me? If I lose, you can take my hand blade, and you'll get unconditional access to my entire intelligence network. If I win, you hand over the location of your real body. Fatty looked uncomfortable. Stop messing around, you psycho. To make a bet like that, you must be incredibly confident. Jiawen was unfazed. Of course. I may be greedy, cold-blooded, selfish, and materialistic, but I do not lie when it comes to the safety of Linjiang. Out of respect for our past acquaintance, I hope you'll trust an expert's warning. If you choose not to, that's fine too, but you'll have to bear the consequences yourselves. Fatty remained adamant. Sorry, but I still don't believe this large-scale beast tide you're talking about will actually appear. I trust big data and intelligence analysis more than your personal intuition. The Baldy nodded in agreement. Right now, the only unusual activity is in the West District. Even if a beast tide occurs, it won't threaten Linjiang. Stop trying to scare us. We support you taking charge of the West District, but don't use some flimsy excuse to mobilize all of Linjiang. Just to clean up the mess in your West District? Hearing the group's murmurs, Jiawen sighed. A flash of anger appeared in her eyes. Hey, Fatty, am I to understand that you're insulting me? Seeing her fierce attitude, Fatty broke into a sweat and quickly replied, No, of course not. Not wanting to argue anymore, Jiawen sighed again. Forget it. For a data purist like you, the current evidence is indeed unconvincing. Turning to Yama, she continued, Well, that's all I have to say for today. From now on, my subordinate, Song Chao, will handle the supply trade with me Ba. I'll see you all in a few days. Before Yama could even react, Jiawen had already left the meeting room. Fatty was confused. What did she mean by see you in a few days? The Baldy answered. It seems she's not only confident in her judgment, but also furious. Fatty said indignantly. Even if she wants to monopolize the West District, there's no need to stir up trouble like this. I was just speaking the truth. Are you all really okay with this? The Baldy said nonchalantly. Whether we like it or not, the fact is that developing the West District is too difficult, and we can't do it without her. Yama sighed. Exactly. I don't want to waste my efforts on the West District. It's much easier to just cooperate with her. We might as well use that energy to build up the old South District. Fatty frowned. We're supposed to be talking about the Beast Tide. Don't get sidetracked. She clearly wants to use this supposed crisis to mobilize all of Linjiang, and then get us to deal with the Beast Tide in her West District. Yama nodded. Is that it? That woman never does anything unless there's something in it for her. If she thinks she's losing out on even a small profit, I doubt this is the full extent of her plan. Meanwhile, Jiao Wen left the meeting room and stretched, composing herself. Jiao Mei walked in and said, Sister Jiao Wen. Looking at the younger woman, Jiao Wen asked immediately, Oh, you have news? Jiao Mei nodded. Yes. Nearly 60% of the West District's 5th team has pledged their support to us. Hearing this, Jiao Wen was secretly pleased. Excellent. Jiao Mei continued. The people in Linjiang really don't know much about mutated creatures, do they? They're like that brainless mob from the old South District. Jiao Wen slapped the report and smirked. Those few small beast tides in the past must have given them the illusion that this is no big deal. Just you watch. Meanwhile, at Xu Jing's private hospital, Song Chao was in the communications room taking inventory, batteries, power supplements, military-grade nutrient fluid, and cheap kinetic rounds, guns and ammo. This is everything we have available to trade. Mi Ba replied via a 3-dimensional projection. All right, we'll use this list to prepare for the exchange. Song Chao asked, No heavy weapons? Forget it, there's no other way. He stood up and held out his hand. Well then, here's to a pleasant partnership. Mi Ba stared blankly at the outstretched hand, which startled Song Chao. Ahaha, sorry, I forgot you were a projection. Mi Ba smiled lightly. It's all right. We'll bring the goods to the flower shop for the exchange tomorrow morning. Her projection disappeared, and Song Chao thought happily. The deal went smoothly. Even though it took some effort and concessions, everything was completed successfully. Luo Jin and Sky Shaker walked in and asked, So, is it done, Boss Song? It seems like we took a bit of a loss. Song Chao replied, It's fine. The urgent matter is more important. To me, this food isn't something particularly precious. Sky Shaker was exasperated. Are those the words of a human being? Luo Jin laughed loudly. Our quartermaster really is trustworthy. Song Chao looked at him, his mind reeling. Modern citizens don't have the same killing skills as you guys. Jia Wen walked in and saw the group chatting lively. She raised her voice and asked, What are you all discussing? If there's something fun, let me in on it. Sky Shaker raised his hand and laughed loudly. Boss Song's trade just now was a loss. Jia Wen was startled and turned to Song Chao. What? Didn't I give you the price list for this area before? Song Chao shrugged. I was just looking at the current situation. Giving a little on the price ensures the supplies get to where they need to be faster. Besides, I also asked them to help find a shop in Linjiang. Anyway, the profit our department gave up isn't even equal to the rent for staying at Dr. Z's place. Hearing that, Jia Wen and Sky Shaker both winced at the cost and nodded in agreement. Yeah, that's true. Jia Wen was briefly flustered but then composed herself. All right, fine. If you put it that way, it's better not to nitpick. Suddenly, remembering something, she turned to Song Chao. Oh right, do we have any surplus food and ammunition? Song Chao replied. If the food from Bu Pu Zai arrives tomorrow, it should be enough. Why? Jia Wen smiled lightly. We have guests coming tomorrow. Prepare 4 portions of nutrient solution from me, guests. Song Chao was surprised. Jia Wen nodded. Yes. I found some helpers. As she spoke, images of the 4 helpers she invited appeared in Song Chao's mind. Time passed quickly, as Song Chao recounted. From then on, I was busy with supply trade deals with Bu Pu Zai. Meanwhile, Jia Wen would occasionally host some strange characters who appeared out of nowhere, and the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. Then, disaster struck. First in the Western District. A group fled from the west suburb back to Linjiang. They brought intel confirming the appearance of a beast tide, sending the city guards into a panic. Less than half a day later, Bu Pu Zai in the Northern District also discovered unusual mutated creatures that shouldn't have been in the area, along with a few corpses as proof. While the leaders were still discussing countermeasures, more news arrived. The intelligence post in the east suburb was attacked by mutated creatures. Although many escaped, the losses were not small. Finally, in the south suburb, 2 guards were standing on a watchtower. Suddenly, they felt tremors like an earthquake. The south suburb smugglers were like dust in a storm. ambushed by the monsters. In just a moment, 2 human slave concentration camps were obliterated. The south suburb quickly fell to the swarming monsters. A panicked soldier screamed, "Ah!" A supersized, pot-bellied monster is marching with a horde of other mutants. They broke through the city wall and charged in. The scene shifts to Pang Zi, his face pale as he looks at Jia Wen. "What are you doing here? To mock me?" Jia Wen closed her eyes, the corner of her lips curling into a sarcastic smile. "How could I? Am I that kind of person? I came to talk business." She pointed a finger at Pang Zi. She burst out laughing. "Besides, if there was any mocking to be done, I've already done it." Yan Wang stood to one side. He raised a hand to mediate, his voice deep and steady. "The beast tide has formed. For better or worse, we must face it. According to statistics, the troops in the southern district have collapsed. The 2 districts in the east and north are still holding on, but they're just barely scraping by." He looked at Jia Wen, his eyes probing. "You told me to come here. Do you have a solution?" Jia Wen answered without a moment's hesitation. "Right now, the problem isn't a lack of strength, but that our firepower is too spread out. The efficiency of our attacks isn't high enough to wipe out the beast tide. Therefore, I have a proposal." Yan Wang and Pang Zi tilted their heads, their eyes filled with suspicion. A proposal? As night fell, mixed with the color of blood, the horde of mutants poured relentlessly into the city. In just one day, the death toll had risen to the thousands. Pang Zi, stunned by the horrifying scene, whispered, "How did it come to this?" He was frozen in place by the ferocious roars of the monsters, especially the giant, pot-bellied mutant that wasn't wearing any pants. It led the horde of monsters forward. Not far away, Luo Jin held a pair of binoculars, observing the situation. He muttered softly, "All right, time to move." Then, seeing Pang Zi, he shouted, "Boss Ro, does the fatso need some help?" From a tree branch, Luo Jin reported down. "The monster group has passed the bait box." Jia Wen, leading the group below, beamed a radiant smile. "Excellent." She waved her hand. With a decisive command, she ordered them to the next location to set the bait. The whole group immediately grabbed their gear and sped off in the direction she pointed. Yue Jin watched in admiration, marveling at Jia Wen's methods, as the hothead nodded in agreement. "That's right." Jia Mei's father, overhearing the discussion, chimed in. "If we didn't have a few tricks up our sleeves, we wouldn't have been able to survive in the West District." Jia Mei explained further, her voice full of confidence. "We use sound waves and special scents to form a pheromone. It affects the mutated creatures. Lured by the pheromone, the monster packs become even more ravenous for the bait. They devour it completely, and sometimes they'll even fight amongst themselves for the bait, leading to small-scale brawls. After the bait is eaten or loses its effectiveness, setting a new lure is even more attractive." Jia Wen added, her gaze growing even sharper. "This kind of intelligent creation is something only people from the West District have, and it will become our asset for cooperating and competing with other districts." Recalling when Pang Zi and Yan Wang had asked about her proposal, Jia Wen confirmed it, her voice filled with confidence. "That's right. Don't you think that gathering the beast tide to a single point will make it easier for us humans to leverage our advantage in firepower?" Pang Zi gritted his teeth, a look of discomfort on his face. "Speaking of which, it's quite strange how this beast tide, composed of scattered groups of beasts, has gathered together. Why would they have a strategic mindset like ours?" Jia Wen replied sternly, her hands in her pockets. "But if we do nothing, and just let it continue to grow, the South District's defenses alone will become a problem. The South District has always been a disorganized mob, haven't they? Aren't you afraid they'll just drop their defenses in the South District and let the beast tide charge right in?" Hearing these harsh words, Pang Zi hesitated. Yan Wang spoke up after hearing Jia Wen's proposal. "So that's how it is. You're really something else. Even in a situation like this, you're still thinking about suppressing those guys from the General's district." A person walked in from outside. It turned out to be General Wei. Having overheard their conversation, he asked directly, "Are you sure about this?" Seeing him, the group turned in unison to greet him. General Wei continued, his voice challenging. "If you can guarantee that you can lure 80% of the Beast Tide's forces toward the south of Linjiang City, I can act on behalf of the Central District and provide you with the necessary supplies. So, are you confident you can secure this aid?" Jia Wen broke into a smug smile. Her confidence made her bold. "Not a problem." On the battlefield, Jia Wen and Rella were whispering to each other as Jia Wen recalled their earlier conversation. "As long as you can guarantee I have enough raw materials to create the pheromone for the bait, I will guarantee that a large portion of the beast tide will be drawn to the southern suburban area. I will also use my own channels to gather the scattered 5-man squads from the West District who are out on missions. As long as there are enough 5-man squads operating on the outside, I'm confident I can concentrate the main force of the beast tide together. Moreover, during the luring process, the mutated creatures will also help reduce some of our own equipment attrition. After that, I will regroup with the people from the West District in the suburbs. I'll organize a branch of 5-man squads for the luring operation. As for replenishing food and ammunition, and energy and so on, I'll have to rely on you guys for that. The entire group had assembled, including Jia Wen's team and her friends. Jia Wen stepped forward as their representative, her voice booming. Looks like everyone is more or less here. Thank you all for placing your trust in me, Shen Jia Wen, and for being willing to support me in this battle. A cunning look flashed across her face. My friends from the West District, let's fight this battle using wolf pack tactics. She explained the strategy in a decisive tone. The people from the West District would move in rotation, causing a large portion of the beast tide to be led towards the southern city, Linjiang. Under Shen Jia Wen's command, they constantly move and set up bait, causing the mutated creatures to continuously change direction. If the small squads from the West District discovered the number of beasts wasn't as large as expected, they would finish those monsters off. And when they encountered a particularly powerful individual, another squad would be dispatched to help complete the luring task. But in the eastern region of Linjiang, the pink-haired sniper girl yelled out in astonishment, Hey, are you kidding me? They appeared way too fast. A horde of armor-plated mutants showed up, led by a pig demon as massive as an apartment building. It was called Zhubaji. In the forest, Jia Mei knelt beside Jia Wen. She asked worriedly, Is there a problem with the luring operation? Jia Wen, her eyes glued to the map, glanced at her and replied, Yeah, there's an area that's a bit concerning. She glanced at Jia Mei, pointed to the strategy map, and said bluntly, Up until 2 hours ago, everything was still going according to plan, with most of the beast tide converging on the southern district. But in the west, there are several small beast tides that are converging on the mountain region in an unnatural way. The girl with pink twin tails rushed to report. Sister Shen, the 5-man squad in the mountain area sent a report. Jai Wen turned, her voice urgent. What's the situation? Report. Did they say what happened? The girl replied. They said, Barbarians have appeared. Jia Wen was stunned, her eyes filled with panic. What? Is that true? The others on the side asked again in shock. Barbarians? A short old man spoke up, his voice slow. You people from inside the city probably wouldn't know, but this is basically our own term for them. He began to explain, You know the executioner ghoul, right? It's similar to that tier of mutated creature. When they have even greater strength and organizational abilities, and even gain skills and intelligence, they're called barbarians. What's more, barbarians will usually gather and organize mutated creatures. They build their tribes, and can even evolve some of these monsters into their own elite guards. In other words, fighting the barbarians means you're up against an entire reinforced army of mutated creatures. You can't even compare them to that mindless horde of beasts. Hearing how dangerous it was, Rascal and Rella began to tremble with fear. The girl looked up at Jia Wen. What do we do, General? Jia Wen's expression darkened and her voice dropped low. Everyone listened to you this time. That's why we didn't go into the city. The responsibility falls on me. She closed her eyes and sighed. What other choice is there? We have to go deal with it ourselves. But on the cliff, just as the sniper girl sat up, a hand clamped down on her shoulder. She jumped in surprise. Jia Wen leaned in close, asking urgently, What's the situation right now? The girl shot Jia Wen an annoyed look and snapped, Could you not sneak up on people like that? Jia Wen just laughed. Sorry. All right, where are the barbarians? The girl pointed, her voice urgent. Damn it, follow me. After a walk of about 2 kilometers, they arrived. Yue Jin and Rascal were stunned when they saw the barbarians. Yue Jin gasped. Whoa, Rascal muttered. So that's a barbarian. Suddenly, Zhu Baiji let out a roar that startled everyone. Jia Wen turned to the girl beside her. How many people do we have? The girl answered. Including your 3 squads from Team 5, we have 50 people at the most. Jia Wen's face darkened. She nodded. Perfect. The girl looked at her doubtfully and asked, What are you planning? Jia Wen replied, her voice firm. If we don't deal with the barbarian and its elite guards right here, the firepower from the eastern sector will never be able to link up with the main battlefield. We'll strike first. Do whatever it takes to thin out their elite forces as quickly as possible, but if a horde like that shows up, we run immediately. The whole group sat on the cliff, staring at the towering Zhu Baji. Every single one of them was filled with dread.